We love Tuesdays, and here comes another one. They're coming fast and furious. Welcome to the Wise Guys, Dave McCann and Blaine Fowler, back for more, and there's so much going on.
Oh, yeah. We're right on the verge of football season.
Yeah.
I mean, it is football season because they're practicing, but we're talking about real games in college football this weekend.
So the long wait is over.
The dog days of summer
they're gone.
Are behind us.
When we started the show, I think the Cubs were in last place in June, and they're still in last place. But time moves on. We just finished up after further review over on BYU TV. Keanu Hill, he was in the spotlight tonight. Man, I think he's going to be huge this season.
Yeah, he is a big-bodied, 6'4" wide receiver. In the mode of Neil Pau and Samson Nakua, who have moved on to the NFL, still on their teams.
Still on their teams.
He was a pivotal part of what BYU did last year as kind of a fourth or fifth wheel. I think he's going to be the second or third wheel this year. Which in a receiving core, when you're throwing the football like BYU does, that's a big-time player. That's a leading role.
When you've got him and you've got Gunnar Romney and you've got Puka Nakua and Chase Roberts – and a handful of others, but those three,
Cosper,
those three on the field at the same time, you're going to have to face some defenses that are playing awesome man-to-man D.
Yeah, they create a lot of matchup problems, and I feel like Jaron Hall this fall has shown that his ability to recognize defense quickly and to go to the right guy, like he's veteran enough now that he's not coming to the line of scrimmage thinking, "Hey, I'm going to throw it to Isaac Rex." He's coming to the line of scrimmage thinking, hey, let's see what this defense is going to do. And whatever mistake they make or whichever matchup is best for us, that's where I'm going with the football. So the ball's going to be spread around. Everybody's going to have a chance to contribute. They're going to use the whole field. I think he's going to complete close to 70%, if not more, of his passes this year, just like the good old days with Steve Young. And
back in the day.
And BYU is going to have a really good season. Lots of matchup problems for defenses this year.
So go to BYUtv.org. You can watch after further review anytime, as many times as you want. It's the best hour on television. We've established that a few years ago, and it'll get you ready. And then we just have one more AFR, and then there's a football game.
Right. And that leads right into the best 2 hours in live streaming.
Exactly.
Which is right on the heels of the best hour in television.
Look at that Puka time next Tuesday.
Week. We're going to get to the big time stars next week on that show.
So,
you know what? We always say it's the best night of the week. How about Mark Axel just coming right out to start this thing and starting off by saying best night of the week, and then of course he's
smart enough.
Qualifies it in case his wife is looking over his shoulder and says, other than date night with my wife, of course. Other than
Wise man.
Thanks for being with us right from the start.
So last week, Marie Osmond and Robbie Bosco were here, and you can go to ysguys.com, listen to the podcast or watch the show again. It was awesome. 2 hours of Marie and Robbie, and Marie interviewed Robbie, and Steve Young provided some of the questions. Mm-hmm. And I you know what? Wherever I've gone this week, people have said, that was an awesome time with a superstar who was sitting right here on our show.
Marie told us that she could carry, she could pull her weight and she could be on a sports show. And you and I are like, okay, let's see how this goes. She was big time on the show last week. She carried her weight and then some as a sports talk show co-host with us here.
One of the many superstars we're going to have on here over the years. Did you see what happened to me Saturday night?
Oh, yes, I did. Now, you went to Marie's show. I feel bad because Marie asked me about going to that, and we already had plans with a big group to go up to Sundance.
Right. So I'm sitting there, and Marie's out and says hello to the crowd, and then she says, hey, I went on this sports show, Wise Guys this week, and she said, Dave McCann, stand up, wave. She goes, is Blaine here? And I go, I don't think so.
Yeah, I was
up
at
a
Bluebird.
lull in the crowd. But then things got progressively worse for me as the night went on. First she sang Paper Roses. Yeah. She sang Paper Roses and threw me a rose, and I handed it to my wife, Diane. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
Then she called me up on stage, and DJ, if you want to bring that up, she called me up on stage and had me do a dance of some sort, and then said, I'm going to have you sing a song with me. And she just said to my wife, oh, hey, I forgot to ask, can I have him up here? So listen to this for a second.
Diane said you can just have him, period.
Yeah.
Give me that.
I was chewing gum and she just pulled it out of my mouth and chucked it.
Someone help me, the band.
So right now I'm terrified.
Okay.
There's no way out.
You're going to sing everything I sing. Just repeat after me.
This was
You don't
payback.
need to start dancing yet.
It's just a nervous twitch.
Yeah, and I was
like
super
the
nervous
singer
because you
just
know,
sang.
Blaine, I'm
No, you
not a
gotta
singer.
sing
You're
it.
the singer.
Sing it really loud.
You're obviously a
okay?
dancer, though.
You know what? Let's see. Okay, you know what?
So then, yeah, watch
if
this.
he can have, you have to get a legit standing ovation. Legit standing ovation.
Can I have Robbie come up and help?
Robbie Bosco was there.
Nope.
If you do that, you see, I was going to pick him, Hijack.
That guy's name was
If you can
Jack.
get a legit standing ovation, Hijack and his lovely wife can come backstage and meet me after the show.
That's a lot of pressure right there.
But you got to do it.
That is
Bring it
a
at
tremendous
the end.
amount of pressure. Let's see, but I got Hijack up.
That should count as one. That counts as one.
Notice his wife didn't stand up yet.
Oh, there she is.
I don't think she's going to. There's three.
Okay, you got to earn it. He has to earn it. Okay, you ready? Oh, I'm crazy.
Oh, I'm crazy, all right.
For feeling so lonely.
For feeling so lonely.
Oh, you're talking, sing. Oh, I'm crazy.
Come on, Marie.
Oh, I'm crazy.
For feeling so blue.
For feeling so blue.
Over you.
That wasn't bad right there. That wasn't bad.
Oh, I'm
This-
crazy.
Then she pulled me a little
Hey,
tighter.
Devin, this could have been you.
Talking to Devin Durant.
To hold you.
I'm in so much trouble.
I'm crazy for crying. Come on, you got to.
Crazy
It's almost over. Hang with us.
for crying.
You can let go of me now. Let go of me.
It's hard to know. I don't know the commands up
You know
there.
this. I got to see. Get on your knee. On your knee.
I'm on my knee.
Yes. I want you to think Elvis. There you go.
And I'm crazy for loving you and especially you.
That's my wife filming the whole thing. So here, watch this. So she gives me a hug, and then I go back in. I said, "We are even." And I got the standing ovation. They got their backstage thing, and thank you, Marie. And so then Marie tweeted out, and she's been great with social media for our show.
Yo, she is unbelievably talented, and a bunch of our followers who are with us every week are chiming in, BYU Sports Addicts, saying how fun and cool with Marie, and also commented that Marie was actually incredible. He was surprised at the way she crossed over to talk about sports last week.
Yeah.
She made some comments about the defense and Elisa Tuiaki. I was pumped.
And she's going to come back on this show.
And then Dr. Ketch says, I'll bet Devin was jealous. Devin Durant.
Devin Durant's going to be on this show next month, and we'll ask him.
And then is it Visuvian? I don't know. Visuvian says, such a talented singer. Dave, that is. But then a giant laughing face. But a
Yeah,
giant
well,
laughing
we're not
face.
fooling anybody.
So
All I know is I took one for the team,
you did.
and
So I want to know when we're going to get together, you guys and Marie and Steve, the Craigs, and
when they come
Brendan
back
and
up
I,
in a couple weeks, we'll go to dinner.
We get together and go out.
But now I went back to the Shell last night, Monday night, for the piano guys. John
Right.
Schmidt was there, and the Utah Valley Orchestra. And so I come walking in, and the people, a lot of the same people are back.
Oh, yeah.
They saw that I was sitting further back from the stage.
They knew.
And they're like, going, "Hey, playing it safe tonight, aren't you?" I go, "No one's going to call me up to play the piano." But it was so cool. And what was great is we got so much street cred for our show over the last week and a half with her 2 million followers.
So
we hope
fun.
some of them are back tonight because we got another big show ahead. But we appreciate Marie, and she'll be a regular at least
Yeah.
every summer, and we look forward to that.
Surfers giving you props. Well done, Dave. It's just, it was great. I actually am glad that I wasn't there. That I wasn't
Think about it this way:
there.
if you were there and she said, "Blaine, I want you to sing," and then she handed you, put the mic in your in your face, then you would have belted out some kind of
You and
opera
I-
thing,
You and I would have,
and then it would have been next level.
Yeah, she and I would have actually done a real.
Probably wouldn't have been as funny. Let's be honest.
No, it was way better that you were
because
there.
you like to sing, and for me,
and for the
everyone
record,
knows.
I did not get invited up onto the stage at Bluebird Cafe.
No.
I'll be there again this Saturday, so if they want to pull me up, I'm glad to go up there with the guitar, sing with the guys.
Now, your daughter Libby was singing the national anthem at Dodger Stadium last night.
Yeah, it was pretty
So that's
cool.
cool.
I need to tweet that out, but and I'll do that after the show. But Libby, and it's Libby Fowler Lloyd, my baby girl. For those of you that don't know, Libby is one of the principal performers in the Broadway First National Touring Company of Moulin Rouge. She plays Nini. There's two leads, two women leads. Satine, who is played by Courtney Reed, who is the woman that originated the role of Jasmine on Broadway of Aladdin. Libby came from playing Diana in the Diana the musical on Broadway to this role. And they had the principals that are on Moulin Rouge. They're at the Pantages Theater in Hollywood. If you're down in L.A., make sure it's only there for 2 more weeks before it moves. Get out and see them. But they sang the national anthem in Dodger Stadium last night, and it was pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. I'll tweet it out later, and you guys can check it out. Then another great thing that Libby's got going this week, they're going to do one of the numbers from Moulin Rouge on the Late Late Show with James Corden this Thursday night.
Good.
So my baby girl Libby's going to be on the James Corden Show on Thursday night. So you guys check her out on that.
She's very talented.
Yeah, she's
very
the featured
talented.
dancer in the piece they're doing. They're doing Roxanne. And by the way, Moulin Rouge won 10 Tonys last year. No piece of that show has kind of been out for public viewing. They performed at the Tony Awards, but this will be the first time on national television that any number from that show has been out in public. So check it out on Thursday night. Check Libby out on the James Corden Show Thursday night, my baby girl.
Hey, click on the chat button in the lower right portion of the screen, create a free Twitch account, and then join our discussion tonight. We got lots to talk about tonight. Also, if you click on the blog tag there at the bottom of the screen, you'll get a form that comes up. Fill that out for a weekly email from us with all that we've got going on. And anyway, that'll be sent just one email once a week. But click on the blog tag there and join us and subscribe. And we're not going away, and we want you to be a part of us. We want you to invest in us. We'll invest our time in you, and hopefully this will be a cool thing
Come
for
hang
the
out
next
with us.
20 years.
Yep, come hang out with us on Tuesday night. We're going to do some stuff not on Tuesday night, some hangouts and some things as we get going into football
And we didn't do the watch party last night because Zack was out.
Yeah, the whole idea was to do a watch party where we watch the Jets play the Falcons. We'll see Zack go against Tyler Algier. And with Zack out, and we're going to talk about that a little bit because it looks like he's going to be back in before we know it. But with Zack out, we just thought it lost a little of the luster. So we'll do one when there's a couple of BYU guys or more than a couple. So.
All right, here's what we got coming up tonight. Let's tease the show with BYU football. Today was the last day of fall camp. They've set their sights on the season opener at South Florida. We will delve into what that means.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, the Big Ten is getting its big money. The terms of their contract were released. It's billions of dollars. What does that all mean for BYU, and what does it mean for the Big 12? We'll get into that on the show tonight.
It's showtime for the BYU women's volleyball and soccer teams as they take on two of the biggest names in all of college sports this week.
Yeah, and hey, how about the magic of the Flyover? Air Force fighter pilot and BYU grad. That's Major Clark Haymond, who was in the dorms with my son Landon.
Nice.
So good friends of Clark's. He's going to join us live as we look forward to another F-15 flyover at LaBelle Ward Stadium. We all know what it's like to watch a flyover, but
it'll be cool.
It's going to be cool as Clark will tell us kind of what goes into all of that and how fun it is to be in the cockpit for one of those.
Plus,
and I'm going to ask him some stuff that I'm not sure we can answer.
Okay.
Might be classified.
Might be
We'll
classified. Challenge the Air Force.
Yep.
Plus, the power of music tonight, how BYU grad Caleb Chapman is making the world a better place. He brought his saxophone. He's going to be right over next to Blaine. Going to play Rise and Shout on the saxophone.
Yep.
I've never heard that on the saxophone.
It's so cool. Hey, and by the way, this shows it's about sports, but it's also about BYU grads doing great things.
Yeah.
And, we were just talking about Libby, my daughter. She's a BYU grad, MDT major, has her degree from BYU. Clark Haymond, BYU grad, flying F-15s all over, defending our country, and doing flyovers at big-time games.
Flyovers.
And then, of course,
Caleb Chapman's
Chapman,
teaching music to everybody.
BYU alum, teaching music to kids, and we're gonna have Caleb in here and talk about the great things that he's doing on the music side of things. And, hey, we're all just proud of all of our BYU guys and gals, I guess.
BYU football superheroes. Which player on the roster is Thor, Iron Man, or Captain America? We'll debate that and ask for your opinion.
And by the way, Malik, you know how we talk about Malik Moore, about the one that you assigned him. Gavin and I were talking to him. He was pumped.
Oh, yeah?
He was pumped at the one. And
Nice.
we talked to you about doing that one because we
So I wrote it in the Deseret News, and we during our church meetings, we're texting
You and I
back
were
and forth
texting.
going,
I was asking
hey, what
Gavin.
Marvel characters? It's like, please don't ask me a question about the Old Testament. I'm trying to figure out what Blaine's.
Yeah.
Anyway, we came up with a nice list.
Gavin was sitting next to me in church, and Malik Moore. Gavin was insistent that Malik Moore be a certain character. We're going to talk to you about that. But when I saw Malik at practice, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, that is me." So we nailed that one.
We were glad. I think we got some good ones. We'll see what everyone thinks.
Yep.
Another round of NFL cuts today. How many Cougars survived and when they play next? That's all coming up over the next 2 hours here on the Wise Guys. How about the countdown?
Yeah, hey, we've got 4 days until the first college football game. We talked about that. Football games start this weekend. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Two
indeed.
BYU opponents in action on Saturday. Utah State hosts UConn, and Wyoming's at Illinois this weekend. So we'll be able to catch a couple of opponents this weekend.
11 days, that's it, to the season opener at South Florida.
Yeah, 18 days until BYU's home opener against number 10 Baylor. That's on September 10th.
And then about 39.
Well, and Clark Haymond's going to have something to do on that day.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to him about that.
About 39 days until October arrives, and that's the month BYU gets its first Big 12 football schedule.
Yep, we'll have the schedule for next season. We already know the preseason matchups for BYU next season. We're going to have a full look into, are they going to get Oklahoma and Texas in their first year in the Big 12?
Sweet. Can't wait to get that.
And one of those you would think would be at home if they get them both.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of fun.
All right, the NFL countdown.
Yeah, 16 days until the regular season opener. That's the Bills versus the Rams on NBC. And then it's all about football, college, and the NFL. Our weekends are complete and full, and we can come away from the weekends feeling good about ourselves, right?
Yeah, excited about that. Hey, next week, Brandon Doman and Amber Whiting will join us. Whiting's the new women's head basketball coach. Doman, the elusive quarterback, went 12-0 out of the gate back in 2001. And then we'll roll out some of the guests we got coming.
Yep.
It's going to be an awesome fall.
We got September's baked. Is that what we call it?
Yeah, it's baked.
September's
it's in
baked.
the oven baked.
I was just talking to our good friend Austin Colley today, and he's all in. He goes, "Oh, I'm really excited to come on the show." Everybody we've talked to has been so good about coming on and supporting the show, and so far we've had some never been told before stories on this.
Who knows what Austin's going to tell
on this show? Austin might tell us something we don't. Mark Wilson told us a story. He's like, "It's 40 years." I'm going to tell you.
Robbie
Bosco, like, well, it's been 37 years. I'm going to tell you guys. He looked at me. I was like, "Yeah, let's go."
That was good.
So people just bare their souls. Marie told us some stories that have never been told. So
I think it's because we're like the male Barbara Walters.
Yep, they just come on and they're like, "You're not going to make me cry," and then we do.
Hey, our first guest tonight's a BYU grad and a fighter pilot for the United States Air Force, based out of Hill Air Force Base, just north of Salt Lake City. And just like Tom Cruise, he had the need for speed. Major Clark Haymond is also a member of the so-called BYU Mafia, which had everything to do with the F-15 flyover last September, prior to BYU defeating Utah, and he's the muscle behind the scheduled flyover for September 10th against Baylor. It is a pleasure to welcome the pride of Davis High School in Kaysville,
Don't forget
Utah.
the darts, baby.
Major Clark Slider Haymond to the Wise Guys. Major, welcome.
What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Hey, Clark, how are you, buddy?
Oh, man, it's great to be here. Great to have some time to get away and chat with you guys.
Hey, how did you get the call name Slider?
Oh, dude. So the rule with sharing call sign stories, you have to buy the guy a drink in order to get the story.
Well, we'll
buy you a chocolate
when
milk.
we see you down in LaVell Edwards Stadium when you're down for that Baylor game, I'll go get you something.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew this,
Sounds
but
fair.
in Cougar Stadium, like, I'm not going to tell anybody this, but Dave and I were kind of a big deal. We can get drinks. We can get drinks.
We'll take care of you.
All the caffeine-free Cokes you can buy.
Absolutely.
Hey, you can get caffeine there now. So if you're thinking
Now
Mountain
we're
Dew,
talking.
we got that for you. We got Mountain Dew or Diet Coke or Coke Zero, whatever you want. We got it for you.
All right, so spill it, Slider. How did you become Slider?
All right, so here's the quick and dirty. I'll share with you guys the longer version later, but I was deployed over Syria This is in the height of ISIS, and ended up dropping a weapon on some terrorists out there. And my flight lead had a communication error. So he was watching the whole thing in his targeting pod, and he's watching this truck go, and then all of a sudden the truck explodes, and he's freaking out, like, what just happened? We weren't planning on him exploding. He didn't realize that I had already coordinated everything, already spoke with the guys on the ground, already got the clearance and dropped the weapon. And so for him, it was a surprise. For me, it made perfect sense. So SLIDER is an acronym, and it says "Screw lead, I'll drop everything regardless." And
so that's what
SLIDER.
screw lead, I'll drop everything regardless. I'm so glad that that's it, Clark, and that it's not that you like to eat sliders, or that, like, I thought maybe it had something to do with the slider pitch, you know, or something like that. But that's a better screw lead. What is it? I'll drop everything regardless. That's a great.
What's the coolest call names that you've heard?
The Navy is the one that they make the worst call signs. I'll tell you what.
The Navy.
They are really mean with their call signs, and they don't hold anything back. But some of the easy stuff, like my name is also in Top Gun. Rio from Iceman's Rio, his backseater. His name was SLIDER.
Nice.
That's right.
There's all sorts of names, and some of them are funny. Some of them you can't share with your grandma, so you need another story to tell that one.
So there's a backup story in case your grandma asks.
For some of those, I luckily have a good story I can share, but other people,
I love it.
not so much.
I love it. Hey, tell us about the BYU Mafia and how does this thing work?
Yeah, so BYU Mafia, they're all graduates of the BYU ROTC program. It's not just pilots or fighter pilots or anything. It's really anyone who's graduated the Air Force ROTC there. And we're just on a Facebook page and, share with each other's, successes and failures and helping each other out. So just really a good group of dudes around the Air Force and around the world that still stay connected.
How did this group help save the flyover before the Utah game last year? And DJ, do we have that flyover video? Did you get that video? If not, you can find it on YouTube. But how did the BYU Mafia save the day?
Yeah, so it was probably a week before the BYU Utah game. I see a post on there from a local friend reaching out saying, "Hey, I need some help. We had a flyover planned, but some of our issues, with maintenance, and we lost out on our jets. Does anybody know anyone that's flying around either Vegas or Utah or Idaho?" And I'm now stationed in Utah, and luckily I fly with people down in Vegas and fly with guys up in Idaho, and started reaching out. And within about a day, I had a plan worked out with the guys up in Idaho, another BYU grad in a kind of a leadership position that had some clout, and was able to get some jets down here. And turns out it ended up being probably, for all three of us, I'm sure, probably the best Saturday night for a long time, right? I mean, maybe not national championship for you playing, but if nothing else, it was to see us beat Utah again and have an amazing flyover.
And you were there. You and I talked down. You were down on the field. Got to be down on the field. Talk about your role that night for the flyover.
Yeah. So the cool thing with flyovers is, in my opinion, is not actually doing the flying, because you'll miss out on the event. You do the flyover, and then it's another couple hours until you can usually get down there, like for the guys for that flyer. So my job was to basically coordinate everything on the ground, work with Mr. Dave Almadova there at BYU and his team in the marketing department, and work out the timing with the national anthem, which I hear, Dave, you're going to be singing the national anthem here soon based off your experience with Marie.
Yeah,
only if I get a call name that's appropriate. That's the only way I'll do it.
That's not happening. We might bring my daughter Libby and her crew to sing, but he's
that'll be better.
Dave singing national anthem is strictly prohibited. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, but my big plan though, or what my job is to communicate with the guys that are flying. So they'll get down there about 30 minutes ahead of time, and they'll stay for LaVell Stadium. They'll stay south, kind of Spanish Fork, Springville area, and just kind of orbit for a good 20 minutes and make sure that they have all the timing worked out. A lot of times ESPN will move the time of the kickoff, and so I'll need to communicate that to the guys flying.
Now we're looking at it right here.
We're watching this, Clark. I don't know if you can see that on your feed, but
they just went by, and you're right there at the top of the stadium.
Yeah,
that's amazing stuff.
It's so. How do you time it out so perfectly where it comes just as the national anthem ends? Like, how do they know? Okay, hey, you guys are down Spanish Fork. Here comes the song. Do you guys you time it out to less than a minute, right, of when they're going to fly over?
Yeah. So we get the time from Dave. So like right now, I have the time. It's 8:05 is the time for September 10th.
8:05.
And so we'll base everything off of hitting 8:05 exactly. When I get there, I'm sure his team will have a new updated time for me. Plus or minus a minute here, left or right. And what they'll do is they'll coordinate with the band or the singer, whoever's going to be doing the national anthem, to make sure that they end at the proper time, exactly right. So in the jet itself, though, if you think about this, we're a war machine, and the name of the game is to get bombs on target on time. And so the computers inside the aircraft, we can basically program so that we make sure that we're hitting a specific spot at a specific time, just as if we were in war, having to drop a weapon at a specific
LES,
time.
LaBelle Stadium, right to the second if need be, right?
Yeah, we'll pull a coordinate for right dead center of the field, and we'll put that in our system and have it exactly right on time. And everything's a little bit flexible, and it takes some skill, but the calculation aspect of it from the aircraft makes it a little bit easier.
So how fast and how low can the jets go during a flyover? Because I felt like last year those babies were low. You and I have discussed this. You won't confirm or deny that they were particularly low.
And we don't want to put September 10th at risk.
We want September 10th to be just as spectacular. So only say what you can say. But what are the stipulations around that? How fast can they go and how low can they go?
So the regulations have us at 1,000 feet above the ground.
Okay.
So that's the key. There's 1,000 feet, and we won't go lower than that. But if you think about it, I mean that's pretty low.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Reality. Yeah. And then the speed. Here's the deal. So fast always sounds cooler, but sometimes the little bit slower gives you a little bit longer, presence over the stadium. So. The secret for last year of why it looks so fast is the guys were running a little bit late, and so they had to push it up a little bit, and they had to put in a little bit of afterburner, and you could see the flames coming out the back of the video, and so
I love
they were
that.
screaming. They were doing good, but they were safe, and they were under the regulations.
So the thing I always wonder about when you're coming from south to north, coming from down Spanish Fork area. Like you come over the stadium and you're at 1,000 feet. Let's say you're right at 1,000 feet. Well, Temp's right there at just over 11,000 feet, like right in front of you.
Yeah.
So when you pass over the stadium, is it like a big time left-hand turn with some G's, or is it gain elevation really, really fast so you don't hit Temp, or what do they do on that?
Yeah, it'll be a check. You're checking left, like you said. It's not too bad though. It's far enough where it's we could turn inside about 2 nautical miles.
Oh man.
So we can wrap it up real quick if we need to and get out of the way. If it's like a big bomber or something, it might be a little bit more difficult. But with a fighter, we can be pretty nimble.
Major Clark Haymond's on the Wise Guys tonight, fighter pilot out of Hill Air Force Base, and a big part of BYU's flyovers at LaVell Stadium. What's it like to fly over, and you've done it yourself, what's it like to fly over a big event? We know what it's like to have jets fly over us.
Gives me the chills every time.
Because it's awesome. What's it like for the guys, the men and women, up in the plane? Is it a rush, or is it just business?
A little bit of both. So it's the business of flying, because we do it so often, it becomes a little bit of rote. But when it's important things like hitting the right time for a flyover, it definitely ups the ante a little bit and makes you stay a little bit on the edge of your seat, because you want to hit it right. So you want to make sure the show looks good. But what's funny is all of the pressure is on that flight lead. So the guy that's flying the aircraft in front, everything is on him. The wingmen that are flying off of him, all they're doing is they're just looking to the right or left, and they're just staring, and they're not worrying about time at all. Their whole job is to make sure that they look good and are in the proper position. Everything else is on that flight lead, so that pilot up front, making sure that he hits the timing correctly. So
that's exactly how Blaine approaches this show.
Yep,
Blaine approaches the show the exact same way.
I just stare at Dave,
just over there,
and I make sure I don't pass him.
His job is to look good.
Yep, I just look good, stay in formation. So, hey, so some of our folks are, first of all, BYU Sports Addict. These are their handles, right? So they have handles, not Slider, but BYU Sports Addict says, "Hey, thanks for your service to our country, Clark. We appreciate you guys very much," which is really cool. And Barrister Beast says, "I think Matt Russell may have played a role in coordinating that with you. He's my uncle and a stud." Do you know Matt Russell? He's asking if you know Matt.
Absolutely. He was definitely a big part of making sure everything happened.
Yeah, and then
thanks, Matt.
That's cool. And so we appreciate Matt as well. Is Matt a BYU guy?
He is, yeah, and he works here on base as well. Works on F-16 side of the house. So yeah,
that's very cool. A couple of BYU guys, and then BYU boy 716 saying, "How accurate is Top Gun? Is that real?" Everybody wants to know that. How accurate is Top Gun?
Which one?
Maverick. Let's go to Maverick.
Let's go Maverick, the new one, because everybody just saw that. How accurate is that?
Yeah, it's actually really good. I'd say if I had to put a number on it, 86% accurate. It's really, really good. We loved, as fighter pilots, we loved watching it. We loved sitting there. I'll be honest, I cried.
Oh man, that's awesome.
When I saw Iceman and Maverick, doing their thing, it definitely hit me, and it is really good. And the difference between the first one and the second one is that they use the real footage inside the aircraft and inside of F-18s. I've been in an F-18. I guarantee you all of that footage flying around was real.
Wow.
Now, when they went into the F-14 and some of that stuff, then, yeah, not so much. But they did a great job, and it's going to be a classic for a long time.
Now, let's go back to your youth and Top Gun, the original. That one's out, and you love it. And 9/11 occurs years later, and suddenly you're motivated to sign up.
Yeah, I was in ninth grade, so I was freshman year, and I remember walking out of PE, seeing the towers on fire, and it definitely hit me. This is something I want to do, and if I want to serve in the military, there was only one way to do it, and that was to be a fighter pilot. So then I started looking, how can I do that? How do I become a fighter pilot? And quickly I realized that BYU has an Air Force ROTC, and I thought, what better way is to go to the college I want to go, as well as serve my country and become a fighter pilot. And there we go. So got a scholarship and the whole thing, went on the mission, and then came back and finished out my time there. And it's been great ever since.
Along with ROTC, people need to know, you were serious business in school to a manufacturing engineer graduate. Is that right?
Yeah, I guess so.
What do you mean you guess so? That's big time.
I haven't touched it since, and I probably never will. But I did do some engineering. Honestly, I probably, looking back, I should have done something more fun. But here we are.
Hey, look. Well, now you're at North Carolina working on your MBA.
That's right. So I'll be transitioning from the Air Force in the next little bit, and so knocking out my MBA there at the Keanu Flagler School, and working towards what's next.
That's awesome.
I have to tell you, Clark, you'll appreciate this. The head coach, Troy Calhoun at Air Force Academy, is a good friend. We played against each other in college, and he was telling us a story one time where he was trying to teach a young group how to run this triple option, and they just weren't getting it. And then he said, and this was early in his coaching career, he's like, "Come on, guys, this isn't rocket science. For Pete's sakes, this isn't that hard." And one of his linemen in the back raised his hand, and Troy goes, "What?" And he says, "Hey, Luke and I are rocket scientists. We're aeronautical engineers, and we're not getting this. So this is harder than rocket science because we both get straight A's in rocket science." And Troy's like, "Okay, that was a little bit humbling right there." So he's like, I better make this thing a little simpler." So yeah,
well, and they haven't stopped playing the option since. So
no,
they must have figured it out somehow.
They figured it out. They figured it out.
So what does a taxpayer fork out for a flyover? Because that's probably the biggest question. People go, "Man, that had to be expensive. Who's paying for that?" And then what's in the works for September 10th?
Yeah, so how flying goes for the Air Force is everything's allocated with a yearly annual flying hour program, they call it. And so let's say, a squadron out of Mountain Home has, I don't even know, let's just call it 20,000 hours that they have to fly each year. That's probably way off. I'm really not sure the number. So when we do a flyover, we just take a little bit out of that bucket. So it doesn't cost the taxpayer any more money. And so we would be flying that same hour, over the West Desert in Utah or over up in Mountain Home, Idaho, if it weren't for the flyover. So the big thing that it does give to the taxpayer, though, is a little bit of peek behind the curtain and
Right.
a little bit of appreciation. So it's important for us to make sure we get out and we serve everyone in the country. We want to make sure that you guys get to participate too.
So that's cool because
Yeah.
they need hours anyhow, and they can get hours doing that, and then the public gets to see.
You're welcome to fly over my house
Yes.
anytime while you're out there.
So Clark, we talked about flyers and all that, but you've flown real missions. What's that like when you climb into an F-15 and you're going on you just talked about a real mission, and you're getting ready to take off? What's that feeling like, and what kind of pride do you have in knowing that you're going out to defend our country?
Since the audience is right, I have this little red Book of Mormon that I would whip out every deployment sortie that I would fly. And I'd take, 5 minutes or so, and I would read that little guy and then hop in. And our sorties, our flights they were long. They were about 6 to 8 hours. Sometimes my longest was up to 11. And so to be able to be mentally engaged took a little bit of effort because you do a lot of droning. It's a lot of time flying up the Arabian Gulf towards Iraq and Syria. And it's not always engaging, but then when you are needing to be ready and needing to employ a weapon in defense of our country or defense of the guys on the ground, you got to do it correctly. And there's no room for error. So all of the practice and all of the time you spend studying back home, it all culminates to that one moment and making sure that you get that bomb on target. And so it's fun though, it's definitely challenging, but it's super rewarding. And I'm super excited to be able to say that I've done it. And I'm proud to have served our country this way.
What impact did the campus Air Force ROTC have on you? And we'll give you a minute to make the pitch to someone who might be thinking about that.
Yeah, the relationship that BYU has with their Air Force ROTC program is really good. I can't speak with super high fidelity of how it is exactly right now, but when I went through, there was about 250 cadets, so fairly large amount of students that have already decided to raise their hand and serve their country. Not all of them have scholarships either, so a lot of them are paying their way through school, but still are willing to volunteer and serve 4 to 10 years of their lives at least, maybe even more if they still enjoy it, and it works for their family. And so the relationship that the Marriott School, that's where the ROTC school falls underneath, is the Marriott Business School. And I know they have a great relationship to make sure that not only are we leading and growing students that are going to go serve the country, but they're also good upstanding students that would normally be the type that go to BYU.
That's great.
Awesome stuff.
Hey, are you going to be in the jet that flies over? What do we got in store for September 10th?
What's going on for Baylor? We want to know what's going on for that.
Yeah, so Baylor, September 10th. That is obviously an important date for BYU fans. It's our first home game, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's also our remembrance of September 11th.
Right.
Yes.
With the next day. So here's where we're at. The FAA has approved the flyover.
Yes.
The headquarters Air Force has approved the flyover, which those are all important stepping stones. The hard part now is to find the right unit to make it happen. That's currently where I'm at with it. So I'd love to promise you that it's going to happen. I can't make that promise exactly, but I'm working really hard to make sure that we make it happen for all of our fans.
Will the BYU Mafia have to get involved here?
That's my next step, I think.
There we go.
as things start, money's important and tight with any unit out there. So it can be difficult sometimes to make this happen, especially on a Saturday. People are having to take time away from their family to go out and do this. So obviously, we love to find some BYU fans, maybe on the BYU Mafia, that'll help us out.
Awesome. I love
on
it.
A confidence meter of 1 to 10, with 10 being an absolute. Where are you at on that meter here today? And we still have some time.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, a solid 8.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. I'm feeling.
That's
A
awesome.
solid 8.
It sounds like my GPA.
I'm feeling good about
solid 8.
You know what that tells me is, don't mess with the BYU Mafia.
No.
Because they'll get it done.
One thing super cool before we finish up with 5 questions for Major Clark Haymond out of, I almost said Nellis Air Force Base for my Vegas days, out of Hill Air Force Base.
We, by the way, we lived in Kaysville, Utah, and I appreciated watching those jets fly off that south when there's a south breeze blowing and they're coming off the south end of that runway right over our house. We loved it.
So you're down on the field after last year's win. And you were also on the field at the previous BYU win over Utah way back in 2009 as a student. Which one was better?
Oh, for me, it was definitely last year.
Yeah?
It was awesome. Yeah, and the fun thing about last year is, I was able to wear my uniform, and all the heroes welcome was awesome to be able to, feel the spirit that BYU brings and the athletics that are there, and to be able to I feel like a participant in making the Utah win happen. As we're out there, all the fans are rushing the field. My dad and I are like, we got to get out of here, and here comes Tom Homo running down, and he runs right by me, and I was like, hey, Dad, that was Tom, and I see him. He turns around, he comes back, and he shakes my hand. He says, thank you so much for your flyover. Turns around and just disappears into the crowd. It was a great experience for sure.
That's awesome. And Clark, little known fact is that Clark and my son Landon, who played at BYU, are good friends, and we're in school together at BYU. When Landon found out that Clark was running that whole flyover, he was pretty pumped about it.
I like that he said 8 out of 10. I'm very optimistic about that. That's going to be a big night. And
you want to know what? We're just like, this is a sports show, but who are better athletes? Like, I'm telling you better be a good athlete to get behind the controls of a fighter jet of any type, because it is taxing on your body. You have to have unbelievable focus and discipline. All the things that make for a great athlete also make for a great fighter pilot. And you better be in shape, and you better be focused, and you be able to do all of those things at a high level. So I think our fighter pilots are some of the greatest athletes in the world.
Yeah, I like to think that I was a better athlete than Landon. So
I'll tell him. He's actually probably listening or watching tonight, so I'm sure you're going to get a call from Landon.
All right, so we hope you got your security clearance for these 5 questions Blaine's going to ask you.
Here we go. We do this every time we have a guest on. We ask them 5 questions because this is how we get to know people. Because this is who you really are. So here we go. And the rapid fire. Favorite movie?
Top Gun.
Okay, we figured that. So what's your favorite scene from Top Gun?
And at Top Gun 1 or Maverick?
The one for me is the classic.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with 1, though I do think 2 is a little bit better, to be honest.
I loved both of them. What scene?
I think the best scene for me is the one that, multiple times, but where Tom is getting chewed out from these guys, You're below the hard deck. I was only there for just a minute, and those bring back some pretty fond memories of things that had happened to me myself.
That's awesome. My favorite in 2 is when he kind of gets pushed out, and then he just goes and gets in the jet and flies the course, and everybody's watching, and the pompous idiot that's the commander there,
John Hamm,
has to eat his words, and everybody's rooting for him, and then he flies it, and they're like, yep. That dude is a bad A. Can I say that on the show?
Yeah, you can say that. I loved the music.
That dude's a bad A.
And I loved the fact that the flying was real, like you pointed out a few minutes ago.
So that's
a classic.
That's a great one. That's right up there for me too. Okay, so question 2: favorite band or singer?
Boston is my favorite band.
Classic.
Oh, More Than a Feeling.
Classic
there we go.
rock.
Yeah, that is classic. Favorite breakfast cereal?
Before you answer, Marie Osmond last week was here on the show, and she mentioned that Snoop Dogg was coming out with
his own cereal called,
and it's called Snoop Loops.
Snoop Loops.
So that's confirmed.
As a
Thanks,
kid that grew
Marie.
up in New York, yeah, Snoop's my guy. So, I know he's from Cali, but, I'm a hip-hop guy, and Snoop Loops are probably going to go right up there on my chart. But what's yours?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, the taste you can see.
Can I tell you that we have you'd be surprised at how many of our guests said Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Did Mark Wilson? I think Mark Wilson said Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Yeah, and the Max Hall, I thought maybe
Max
was in
Hall.
there.
You're in great company with Cinnamon Toast Crunch. That's a good one. So,
Okay.
favorite BYU sports moment?
Oh, man. I'm just going to have to throw out that last year's Utah game was my favorite BYU sports moment for sure.
Well,
Awesome.
you orchestrated the flyover. You're down on the field celebrating it. And if you had a hot dog somewhere in between, that's like a perfect night.
That
It was
was
incredible. I mean, Tacano's was pretty good.
Yeah.
That night too, so.
Epic. Okay, and the last one, your favorite flyover you've ever done, where you actually flew.
You've been over NFL stadiums. You've been over NASCAR. You've been over the whole world.
What's your favorite?
My favorite was definitely doing the Philadelphia Eagles. It was Tom Brady versus the Philadelphia Eagles and watching him warm up, and then doing the flyover and again getting the police escort back. It was awesome. It was
Very
an incredible time.
So Eagles, and you guys flew over Lincoln Financial then in Philly.
It was, yep, the link. It was a tight squeeze in there with the buildup of the towers there for sure.
Yep, still the only NFL stadium with a holding cell in the stadium for drunk people. That's what you gotta love about Lincoln Financial.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, Clark. Thanks so much.
You can read more about Major Haymond and the magic of flyovers in an article I wrote recently in the Deseret News. Go to the search bar, type in Major Clark Haymond. He's a BYU grad making a difference in the world, and we're so glad to have you on the Wise Guys. We look forward to seeing you in a few weeks for the Baylor game.
I'll be there either way, boys.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
great to see you. Thanks for coming on, Clark.
All right, we'll see you.
That's cool. We've had a fighter pilot on now.
That's big time
next
stuff.
level on this show.
And people, I love some of the comments. First of all, they're loving it. Saying, hey, BYU boy says, hey, funny and humble. Thank you, Major, for your service, of course. People are going, yes, to Cinnamon Toast Crunch, BYU Sports Addict. And also saying, hey, awesome interview, guys. And remember, this show is about, it's not just about straight sports, right? It's about BYU and some of it is loose affiliations to sports. It's about BYU people, and Clark Haymond is somebody we're really proud of, right? Yeah. Representing BYU all over the world, flying missions over Syria, all over the Middle East, and also doing some pretty cool flyovers. So how about that with Clark Haymond?
Fantastic.
Dorm mates with my son Landon.
Caleb Chapman's going to be with us a little later on. He's going to bring his saxophone here. We'll talk about the power of sports and music, and he's going to play Rise and Shout on his sax. That's coming up in just a bit. We encourage you again to get on Twitch, sign up for a free account, and then you can ask us whatever you want as we go through the next little bit. Last week with Marie and Robbie, we were slam dunked for 2 hours. Right. It was so good we couldn't move away from it. Tonight we want to take a few minutes and get you up to speed on everything that you want to know about BYU and BYU football. And you may be out of state, you may be out of country, you may be listening to this on the podcast, but here comes a whole lot of information that when we're done you'll go, okay, that's cool. Now I know what's going on. Let's start with football.
Yeah, we'll give you some headlines here. And we're not just going to give you headlines because I think headlines is a little bit misleading that we're only going to give you the headline. But We're going to give you the headline and we'll discuss a little bit. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
BYU football camp ended today with a scrimmage. It's now all full in prep for South Florida. The team leaves for Tampa a week from Thursday for Raymond James Stadium.
Going a day earlier than normal road games.
They're going to get acclimated to the time change and the weather.
Yeah.
Right now, and you looked this up for us earlier, I was talking to you about it before AFR.
Yeah, listen to this.
This is according to the Weather Channel. It says the high for September 3rd is going to be 91. They say it's going to feel like 102.
Okay.
The chance of rain is 99%, which is par for the course. That means it like passing showers.
That doesn't mean it's going to rain all day.
Hey, I was just in Jamaica for 6 days, and it said 99% every day, and it rained for like an hour every day. So let's just hope it's not the hour in the middle of the day. Humidity 64%, so the ball's going to be a little bit slippery. The game starts at 4 local time in Tampa.
Can we get Tom Brady to let some of the air out of those footballs?
Oh, that's what you
Darren
know.
wants that.
Brady-gate. Like
it's his stadium.
I know. Hey, Kalani said today after the scrimmage that they got through camp without any season-ending injuries, which is remarkable. That doesn't happen very often.
And it doesn't happen to us. It seems like there's always something.
Yeah, and considering how much football they've had during this last couple of weeks, that is remarkable. And now they can be really, really careful. And there's a learning curve for coaches, and I feel like Kalani has really dialed in how much they can go, when they need to back off, what players to keep out of contact, what kind of contact to have to get them ready but not push it over the top. And it seems like gotten a little bit better at keeping people healthy. And this, I would say, is the best year yet as camp ends and no season-ending injuries. And so we always talk about this could be a very special season if BYU can stay healthy. And so far, so good.
Brett Pine, the sports information director, told us that the depth chart will be released next week. Defensive coordinator Eliza Tuiaki did go on the record today with the media saying Ammon Hanneman has won the starting job at strong safety. We saw him the other day after practice, and he's got Thor's body.
Yeah, we commented, and he laughed, and then the guys we were sitting with we were with D'Angelo, I think, and we said, has there ever been a Hanneman that's not just shredded? But Ammon takes it to the next level.
Yeah.
Like he's got to have less than 5% body fat. The dude is jacked too. He's a big, strong dude.
It reminded us of ourselves.
Yeah, and you know what? Think about it. Ammon really came on at the end of last season, started to get more and more playing time, and really became a contributor as the season wound down, and then had a great offseason in preparation, had a really good spring ball, and now he's had a fantastic fall. And safety was a position I was like, well, who's going to be that strong safety? And I'm not worried about it anymore. I think Ammon Hanneman, they can keep Ammon healthy. BYU's in business at strong safety. Of course, Malik Moore returning at free safety. They have depth at that position. So, congratulations to Ammon on that announcement.
Hey, BYU boy wants to know the biggest surprise player from fall camp. Who do you think?
I think it might be Gabe Judy.
Yeah.
The transfer corner from Vanderbilt. Like, he's pushing to start at corner. And he's looked really, really good. And now all of a sudden BYU's looking like they're 4 deep at corner.
Yeah.
So he's been outstanding. And so maybe him. And I know he came with a lot of he's coming from Vanderbilt, but you're going, it's Vanderbilt, right? I know it was the SEC, but it's Vanderbilt, which is sort of SEC.
You know what I loved about him is he got his college degree as a sophomore.
Right.
And the COVID year popped in there and allowed for some extra time, but Vanderbilt's no Joe Schmo place.
Yeah, no. So he's been
great.
He's been really, really good at corner, and I don't know if I've ever felt better about BYU's corner group. So he's one. He's one of the guys that I think is playing extremely well. Ben Bywater looks fantastic.
Yeah,
he's been looking really, really good. The two things I was worried about strong safety. And I was worried about depth at linebacker, but Max Tooley has had a great fall camp. Ben Bywater's had a great fall camp. I'm feeling really, really good about those two positions right now, and I feel like BYU's deeper than I thought they were. And so I'm gonna go with Gabe right now.
Right. Cougar Stats tweeted out something that caught my eye. BYU's played 95 different FBS teams over the years, which is 6th most. Tennessee's first with 99, followed by Army and Missouri and Florida, all with 98. Miami of Florida is 97. And then there's BYU at 95. Nebraska is next at 94. Independence has certainly helped BYU get around the country and play teams that they hadn't played before, which was one of the objectives, including Nebraska and Tennessee, and they beat them both.
Both of those, yeah.
And they're going to get Arkansas for the first time in October.
Yeah, and Arkansas, who's preseason ranked, coming into Provo, is pretty cool. And so, I think Independence, and think about it, they've played, I can't even remember the conference before the WAC, but they're in the WAC for a long time, and then they moved to the Mountain West, which had some different teams in it. And what BYU always did, even when they were in a conference, was they scheduled up in their non-conference games and played teams from all over the country because Tom Holmoe and the ADs before him, their philosophy has always been, let's get this group and let's get to BYU fans all over the country. They've got a national, and you know what you and I are finding out with all the shows we do? They have an international audience, right? So let's get them all over the place so fans can come to the games, and that's led to this, that BYU, 95 different FBS teams. That's amazing. 6th most of any college football program in the country. That's really cool.
Did you notice Caleb Chapman has entered the building?
I did notice.
And his fiancée, Tommy.
He's tuning up. He's going
to join us in a little bit.
Like all great saxophone players, he's already got his
I saw him out
Caleb,
the window.
What's it called, the thing that you...
The reed.
He's got the reed already in his mouth.
I saw him pull up in the biggest monster truck that's not actually performing in monster trucks.
So I play the guitar. So usually when I'm getting ready to play, I usually put the strings in my mouth to get them.
Is that what you do?
No, I don't do that.
That's what I do to see if a wire's like hooked to live electricity.
Yeah,
you just put it in your mouth.
You put that in.
All right, let's talk money in the Big Ten.
Yeah, so we've had a few days to digest this whole Big Ten news thing. It'll bring the conference. Now, I'm saying this with a B. $7 billion over the course of the contract, 7 years, beginning in 2023. That's $7 billion.
And it might even be more if they hit all their things.
And when they talk about if they expand, there's some additional dollars. It could be up to $10 billion. Interestingly enough, the media partners moving forward are going to be Fox, CBS, and NBC. And so on college football Saturdays, you're going to have the Big Ten. They'll have a noon game on Fox.
Eastern time, right?
The 1:30 Mountain window is going to be on CBS, and primetime games on NBC. So the buzz coming out of Blockbuster Media deals that the Big Ten is not done expanding.
Yeah, they could have just put the lid on that. Instead, they go, "Oh yeah, we're not done."
Yeah, so
which sent everyone
how does
crazy.
This all impact? Interestingly enough, notice that the worldwide leader in sports is not a part of that package.
No, out for the first time.
No ESPN in the Big Ten deal.
So does ESPN then come and they're already married to the SEC? What do they do to the Big 12?
I believe that this opens up some bandwidth for the ESPN participation in the Big 12 at a bigger, as a bigger portion of what they're doing than they have in the past. Especially with USC and UCLA out, Pac-10 traditionally has been a Fox league with some secondary or tertiary rights to ESPN. I think, first of all, the money's good news for the Big 12 because now that's kind of set the bar of what people are willing to pay. Of course, that's the Big 10. The SEC in the pecking order, it's SEC Big 10 right there, 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
I think it's universally accepted that the SEC is the best football conference in America. Big Ten
least
saying,
half of it.
We beg to differ, but
at least half of it.
You know what? If anybody's like intellectually honest, the Big Ten's not as good as the SEC. Come on.
Right.
But they're trying to expand to get more good teams. They add USC and UCLA. They're big names. They haven't been playing well lately.
So then Brett McMurphy tweets out yesterday, Monday, that Oregon has initiated preliminary discussions in Chicago with the Big Ten to determine if the Ducks are compatible in the Big Ten. That's his tweet. If any of that's true, then how can Oregon be trusted by anyone in the Pac-12 going forward as if they'll get a deal and hold everyone together? How can you?
You can't, if that's true. Because didn't we just hear at Pac-12 Media Day, we're all on the same page. We're interlocked arms. We're gonna make this thing go with the Pac-10. Oh, except for the Ducks. They're talking to the Big Ten.
And if the Ducks go, that's it. And I wrote a tweet and sent it out. I was proud of myself, and it got quite a response. And let me see tell me if it paints a picture of what we're looking at. I tweeted out, the Pac-12 is like the once mighty Titanic. Seems like everybody on deck thinks the iceberg, Big Ten, caused minimal damage in the initial hit, USC and UCLA, and have no idea that an ice spur down below, Oregon, is what really caused the sinking. The Big 12 has a lifeboat nearby.
So that's a great analogy. Why did people freak out on that?
It's not USC and UCLA that's going to kill the Pac-12.
Right.
It is Oregon.
If Oregon leaves, then I guarantee you that now all of a sudden teams are going, okay, you can't trust anybody here. And I would not be surprised to find Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, and Arizona in the Big 12 if that happens. Yeah. So, hey, by the way, BYU boy asked us, where's Chaz Ayu going to play this year? And Chaz got to get healthy. So far, he hasn't really done much because he's nursing some off-season injuries.
And usually at this point, the red shirt option becomes such a big option.
Remember, Chaz still has a red shirt option. So, if he can't get healthy to play the majority of the games, he maybe plays at the end of the year. Because remember, red shirting now you can play 4 games. So they've got to get him healthy, and so far not healthy. So, anyhow. And then I do like BYU boys because when Utah fans say they could compete in the Big Ten, and there's a bunch of laughing emojis after that, and they were freaking out that you said that, but that's a true statement.
And it doesn't matter if you can compete in the Big Ten; it's eyeballs. It's like, why would the Big Ten want anybody from Utah to join their league? What do they get? Yep. They add Rutgers, so you get New York and New Jersey. Despite Rutgers.
It's not about... So,
and you get Maryland, you get that area.
Here's the thing that Utah fans don't understand. When we say Utah is not, what they're looking for, they're like, we're the best team in the Pac. Yep, you are.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you... Certainly UCLA is not good and hasn't been for a long time.
No.
But they took UCLA and not Utah.
Why, I wonder?
USC didn't win the league.
Could it have something to do with Los Angeles?
Yeah. USC didn't win the league last year. Utah was better than USC last year. BYU and Utah beat USC last year. But USC was the first one on the list.
It doesn't matter.
It's about eyeballs. It's about tradition. It's about national brand. It's all of those things.
So it's not a knock on your team.
And Utah
it's
is
reality.
Utah's the best team in the league, and they're probably the best team in the league. We'll acknowledge that.
And we both want them to come to the Big 12.
Yeah, we want them in the Big 12. And you want to know what? Here's the problem for Utah. If I'm back home in New York and I ask somebody about USC, they're like, oh, yeah, USC plays some – like USC is a national brand. Nobody in New York cares about Utah. Nobody, unless they're a Utah grad.
And
Nobody.
let's be honest. The Big 12 doesn't need Utah. They already have BYU if you're just looking at a TV market. And so if I'm Utah, I am calling the Big 12, and I'm pleading my case.
Yeah, and you and I want them.
And I'm coming in, and I want them to come to the Big 12.
We want that rivalry back. I think Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, and Arizona puts the Big 12 in a 16-team league. 2 8-team divisions.
And then just go play.
It stabilizes the league, and then you don't need to worry about anything. Utah and BYU both don't need to worry about
anything. And you don't have to worry about Oregon getting up every day going, I think I want to leave today. Even though yesterday I said I was going to stay.
Yep.
I think that throws it.
Blue Cougar says Utah needs the Big 12.
I think they do need the Big 12.
If this story is true, that Brett McMurphy is usually a pretty credible source, that Oregon's talking to the Big 10, you can't trust anybody then, right?
Nope.
And so if you can't trust them, get in a league that you can trust, sign a grant of rights deal with everybody in the Big 16, right?
And live happily ever after until the next big thing.
Live happily ever after. And then I like how BYU boy says facts. Like we're just talking facts.
We're spitting them out. Hey, BYU and Virginia Tech quietly amended their home schedule this past week. Hokies are going to play in Provo on September 14th of 2030, which is actually not that far off. The return date to Blacksburg's been moved to September 10, 2033. Now, why do we care about that? Well, let's just look ahead. In 2030, BYU scheduled to play at Utah on September 7th and host Virginia Tech on September 14th. With an expected 9-game Big 12 schedule, that gives BYU 11 P5s to play that year.
But you know what happens by then? Utah and BYU, they're both in the Big 12 by then anyhow.
Yeah, so it could change.
So it could be a league game.
It could change, but it's. I thought BYU would just say, "Hey, Virginia Tech, we're out."
Yep.
But they found a way to keep that on the schedule.
So anyhow, hey, BYU Sports Addict, thanks. He says you're spot on right at BYU boys. He's like BYU boys saying it's facts, right?
We expect the choir to appreciate.
We appreciate you guys sticking with all of us on this thing. So hey, how about Jaron Hall named to the Manning Award watch list? It's sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl. It's an award created to honor the collegiate achievements of Archie, Peyton, and Eli Manning. Hall is one of 30 quarterbacks on this list. This is the only quarterback award that includes bowl performance.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't know why they all don't.
Yeah.
So,
like the Heisman, would it kill the Heisman to wait wait
until after the bowls?
Yeah,
I don't know. But all these major awards come out before the bowls, but the Manning Award comes out after the bowl, so they take into consideration the entire season. I like that.
Hey, what does Ty Detmer, Robbie Bosco, Max Hall, Mark Wilson, Gary Scheide, and Brandon Doman think about Jaron Hall for the upcoming season? You can read their comments in my new article in the Deseret News at Deseret.com.
Which I've already read.
We're going to hear from Jim McMahon on that during countdown to kickoff prior to kickoff of the South Florida game. But that's a cool list. And I thought Max Hall's was interesting because he gave a couple of things like, we expect big things from Jaron. Here's what he needs to do.
Right. I loved it.
Stay consistent on the field and in practice, which means you got to be healthy to be both places. And the other thing was you got to stay healthy. And you do that, and the sky's the limit.
Yeah. And BYU Sports Addict saying it was really cool what Robbie Bosco had to say about Hall last week.
Yeah.
When we had Robbie here in studio. Really, really, really cool. So,
Pro Football Network named 3 Cougars to its list of the top 100 players in college football for the coming season. Jaron Hall, 38, Blake Freeland, 51, and Clark Barrington, 55. You know what that tells me? that Jaron Hall's in really good shape because the other two guys in the top 55 are his linemen.
Hey, and let me tell you something. Before the season's over, everybody's going to go, yikes, this Kingsley dude is ridiculous. So Kingsley Samatea, who's going to play that right tackle, he's
a slim, 300
He's
something.
a freak of nature. 330-pound guys that are 6'6" aren't supposed to look like that, and they're not supposed to run like that. He's the most athletic 330-pound guy I've ever seen. And Aaron Roderick said the same thing. I really ISO'd on him the other day, and I'm going, oh, my goodness, he's scary.
We're 10 minutes away from Caleb Chapman and his saxophone. It's like a global countdown.
Let's count down.
10 minutes.
Let's count down.
Hey, Liberty announced this week that Charlie Brewer's their starting quarterback. He played, what? He was at Baylor, threw for 10,000 yards.
For 4 years.
Then he went over to Utah last year.
It doesn't matter. Like, you play like 11 years now with COVID and medical hardships and red shirts. You play like 11 years.
So BYU beats him, and then the Utes bench him.
Right.
Put in Cam Rising, and then they go get beat by San Diego State. And Brewer kind of goes, well, what am I going to do now? And Lynchburg, Virginia is on his path.
And think about it. Liberty's been really good. They've been ranked the last couple of years. They throw the ball all over the place. They even make the comment, we're going to be the East Coast BYU. I love that, that concept. And so Lynchburg, Virginia, on October 27th, BYU is going to face Charlie Brewer again.
Isn't it interesting? They're also going to face Gary Bohannon.
Right.
But Brewer and Bohannon are playing for different teams this year.
Yeah, Bohannon, who played at Baylor, is now with South Florida. And Brewer played at Utah, is now at Liberty. And BYU is going to face those two quarterbacks again.
They got the scout on them, right?
Oh yeah, they know what they can do. So how about a Zach Wilson update for you? The second-year Jets quarterback is on the mend after last week's knee surgery. The Jets expect him back in the next 3 weeks. Joe Flacco, who's the backup, still preparing to start that opening weekend against the Ravens on September 11th. But you know what? I won't be surprised if Zach's ready to go. Sounds like they just did a little bit of a meniscal repair. It was a lot less troublesome than they thought on an initial look. You know, when something happens like that, a non-contact knee injury, you always fear ACL and all that.
Yeah,
but
sure.
He got the first opinion and got a second opinion. They went in, and then it's like, hey, but we still don't know. We've got these MRIs, but until we get in there, but they got in there with a scope and said, hey, everything looks pretty good. We'll trim this, we'll fix this meniscus, and he's going to be good to go in a few weeks. So he could possibly play for the opener, but if not, then within the weeks immediately following that, he'll be back, and hopefully he can stay healthy.
He told Spencer Linton last night. Spencer was back on a BYU TV assignment for the Falcons and Jets, and Zach was there, and he said he was feeling pretty good. And Joe Flacco even came out and said, Zach's moving along pretty good, and they're optimistic to get him back in the lineup.
Absolutely. Hey, before we move on to women's soccer, Blue Cougar says offense will be great, but watch out for the defense this year. And then BYU Boy asks, will we be playing more man coverage and 4 on the line since we're healthier ones? There's 2 factors that go into that, BYU Boy, and it's, first of all, personnel. So yes, they're going to play a lot more man, but it's also because of the type of teams they play this year. When you play against teams that are what we call air raid or spread teams, most teams play drop 8 and 3. When people play the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what they do, right? That's what the Tampa Bay Bucks did against them in the Super Bowl, and stymied them, right? And so sometimes it's not a product of personnel; it's a product of what. And BYU played a bunch of spread teams last year. Well, they don't play that many spread teams this year, or the air raid teams. They play way fewer. So not only do they have the personnel to play man, but they face teams that are more traditional. Like Boise State's a really traditional team. Arkansas, Notre Dame, where they're power teams, right? So BYU's going to play way more 4-man, and they're going to play a lot of man, and everybody's going to think it's all personnel. It's not just personnel. It's a combination of that and the type of teams they play this year.
Women's soccer, the Cougars played Ohio State on Friday night, 6 Eastern, 4 Mountain on BYU Radio. Depending on which poll you look at, they're either 5 or 9. Defeated Cal State Fullerton last Thursday in the season opener 1-0. Home openers coming up Monday afternoon against Colorado. That's at 5 Eastern, 3 Mountain on the BYU TV app with Spencer Linton, Carla Swenson, Jason Shepard on the call. So that's on Monday. But volleyball is ready to go.
Yep, the 10th-ranked Cougars open the season on Friday with the BYU Invitational. They face Ryder at noon Mountain Time. Very, very good program on the BYU TV app. Later Friday night, At 7, BYU will host Duke on BYU TV. Then on Saturday night, BYU will host Washington State at 7 on BYU TV with Jerem Jordan, Amy Grant, and Kenzie Korber on the call. So
we got Duke and Ohio State in the same week
How about
for
that?
Soccer and volleyball.
Yeah, and you know what? These two programs are Big 12 ready. Women's soccer and women's volleyball are ready to go compete for championships in the Big 12 right now. One of my favorite guests we've had on here was Jen Rockwood when she came on with us, and I'll never forget her answer when asked if they were ready to compete in the Big 12, and she just very calmly said, "Yeah, we'll play anybody anytime. We'll go compete for a championship right now. We're not afraid of anybody." And they're not. They're a top 5 team, for Pete's sake. They just played in the national championship game, and they're loaded coming back. It's a program that's great every year, and they will compete for championships right now.
Former BYU baseball pitcher Michael Rucker threw 2 innings of no-hit ball today, picked up his 3rd win of the season as the Cubs shut out rival St. Louis, which, we don't care much for.
No.
Rucker
Great stadium,
now,
but we don't care for him.
3-1 coming out of the bullpen. Keep your eye on him. He's going places, and we texted
happy-
back and forth.
How
and
happy
he
are
is
you?
stoked.
I mean, this is your lifelong team.
Yeah, we
Cubs.
have decent young pitchers.
And now you got a BYU guy there, and they're actually winning.
And we text him, and then he answers back like, "Dude, are you in the dugout?
You
are
seem
you in
like
the bullpen?"
you seem like you're in a way better mood lately, with Michael Rucker playing.
Well, he's pitching great, and it's always good to have a friend on the roster.
Yeah.
We have friends in management. A friend on the roster.
It's always good. You have friends with the Cubs. I have some other hookups, right?
Yeah.
But you have the Cubs hookups, and I gotta say, Dave hooked me up. I've told you this before. I went back to Wrigley, and I sat on the third base line right behind the dugout because of my guy Dave McCann right there. Now you need Broadway tickets or that kind of stuff. That's me.
Yeah.
That's me.
And I can also get you in to see Caleb Chapman and his band.
Yes.
So I got that going for me.
Does he have a hookup, Caleb? Does he have that hookup?
Can I get him in? See your Crescent Super Band? Yeah.
Dave could do that.
Yeah.
Dave is connected, you guys.
Hey,
Dave's connected.
this happened last week. We didn't get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
And Caleb's going to join us here in a minute. Steve Worster died just past weekend, a week ago. He's 73 years old. Now, who's he?
Yeah, he's the former Texas fullback that was the inspiration behind the wishbone offense.
And that changed college football in the 60s and early 70s.
It was like Lavelle Edwards bringing the passing game to college football in the late 70s and 80s. The offense was introduced at Texas, featured 3 running backs with Worster as the fullback, right? Yeah. The 2 running backs were positioned farther back in a wishbone.
That's where the wishbone
formation.
came from.
Texas won a national title with it, and then Oklahoma and Alabama followed suit, running that same offense. The next big game changer is mentioned, like that was revolutionary in college football, and those big schools ran that wishbone, and we remember Steve Worster for being the fullback in that, and they put that together so that they could put him in that position. Next big change was when Lavelle Edwards came in and said, "You know what? We're going to throw the football." That's going to be the great equalizer.
And look where that's gone.
And now BYU is a storied program with a national championship and almost every major award known to college football because Lavelle Edwards decided to pass.
So Steve Worster, who most of us would have never heard of before, had a big impact on how college football is played and was played, and passed away. But I thought that was interesting.
And people don't run the wishbone anymore, but the whole idea of the triple option is still part of football. This RPO stuff that teams run, the zone read plays that they run are all elements of the option that Texas put in place when Steve Worster was there in that wishbone offense. So there's still elements of what they did way back when in the game today that have an impact on the game. So our condolences to the Worster family. At 73, Steve passes away.
Tony Finau starts the FedEx Tour Championship, where the winner makes $18 million. So the play begins Thursday at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta. He's 8th in the FedEx standing, so he's going to start the tournament at 4 under par, trailing the points leader Scotty Scheffler by 6 shots. That's how they do it in this final.
It's a cool way. It all leads up to this.
And
right?
if you're the guy, there's an advantage. You get strokes, and everyone's got to chase you. But Finau in his last 3 tournaments, over $3.4 million.
And by the way, when we were down at the Masters earlier this spring, we followed Scotty Scheffler around. That guy's just like unflappable. And when he's hot, you can't beat him. He was on a really, really big run. Tony's on the most recent run. But if you're spotting Scotty Scheffler that many strokes,
It's going to be tough.
my money's on Scotty Scheffler this week. I would love to see Tony because we love him. Love to see him win. He needs to have 4 good rounds. He had 3 really good rounds this last week and had a rough round open, and then had 3 great rounds. 4 good rounds and maybe. But if I'm a betting man, which I'm not, Scotty Scheffler with that advantage going in.
Finau is also going to represent the United States in the President's Cup.
Very cool.
Congratulate him.
Yeah, very, very cool.
This next thing about Alabama football coach Nick Saban today.
Yeah.
Signs an extension. It's going to pay him an average of $11.2 million per season
for the next
10 years.
Oh my goodness.
And that prompted this tweet from Nick Gerdeman. I want to see what you think about it. He said, quote, Saban has never lost a non-conference road game in his 15 years at Alabama. If Bama wins at Texas this season, he will move to an incredible 3-0.
This is all tongue in cheek, right?
I think it's actually true.
They don't go on the road,
and they don't play ranked teams. Certainly non-conference games on the road.
Don't, other than their SEC schedule, they don't play anybody, and they certainly don't.
Now Gerdeman writes for the Buckeye Huddle covering Ohio State, so he's got something. But then I started thinking about it, going, "What a smart thing to do! Never go on the road and play a non-conference team, and if you do twice, and maybe 3 times now with Texas, win those." And you make $11.2 million a season.
Yeah. Well, hey, nobody's questioned that Bama's not one of the elite teams in the country, but they don't challenge themselves to start. And they don't. Here's the thing: they don't have to.
Yeah, and
they don't have to go out and prove anything.
They might play a big game at a neutral site. That's not on the road.
They're Bama. They don't have to prove anything. They just go out and win the SEC. So
as Caleb Chapman moves into his seat over here, we'll tell you next week. Brandon Doman and Amber Whiting will be with us on the Wise Guys. Whiting's the new women's head basketball coach. September 6th, Will Snowden, former running back, Brian Keel, former linebacker, and women's golf coach Carrie Roberts will be with
Will
us.
Snowden, his son, is a big-time recruit, one of the fastest players in the Western United States, plays corner for Sky Ridge. And so I think
he's on BYU's radar.
Yeah, so we'll talk about Will's experience, maybe ask him about how his son is doing.
Yeah, and then some of the names coming up in September. Brandon Ogletree, former linebacker, baseball coach Trent Pratt. Dan Forsman, 5-time PGA Tour winner, will be with us. Austin Collie committed today. Margin Hooks going to join us. Ed Eyestone. He's still looking to figure out how to replace Connor Mance.
Yeah, that's big time.
Head coach for cross country. Andrew Rich, Devin Durant committed to join us.
We're going to ask the other side of the story of the Devin Durant Marie Osmond dating saga on that one.
And
then
Travis Hansen will be with us as we get into October.
Awesome lineup. And hey, Dan Forsman coming on. You and I played golf with Dan, and he went out on the front 9 at Riverside Country Club, and he shot a 36. So pretty nice. Yeah. Like he shot even par, and I was like, man. Like, I wasn't that far off of that. I'm pretty close. And then all Dan did was go out and shoot 32 on the back 9, and I was like, okay, never mind. I'm not close.
Our next guest is a BYU grad who's making the world a more musical place. And music and sports go hand in hand. He's a teacher, a performer, an author, an executive, a saxophonist, a Cougar football fan. His bands, which age from 8 to 18 in age, have recorded with AC/DC, which is my first question, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we're
Rolling
get
Stones,
to that.
Neon Trees, which is full of BYU grads, The Killers, DJ Cascade, among many others. Our pleasure to welcome to the Wise Guys the founder of Caleb Chapman Soundhouse and Grammy-nominated Crescent Super Band, Caleb Chapman.
Hey, guys.
It's pretty awesome.
Get his mic
we
up
got his
there.
mic up?
Thanks for
DJ,
being here.
DJ says he's up and ready to go.
I think we're rolling.
There we go.
Now, you kind of had to sit there with your fiancée, Tommy, while you watched the last 20 minutes of the Wise Guys.
Loved it.
Did we get you up to date on everything that was important?
I feel like I'm all the way up to speed.
You feel like you know
season.
what's going on with the Cougs right now, getting ready for football?
We got a million questions for you, but let's start with the AC/DC question.
AC/DC.
I don't even care how loose the connection is between your company and AC/DC, but let's talk about what that connection is.
So Chris Slade, drummer for AC/DC, great friend, he's come out to Utah, worked with us many times, recorded with us, performed with the kids and everything, and actually taught at my camp a few years. So Thunderstruck.
That's him?
That's him.
Oh, man.
That's him.
Was he super cool?
He's beyond cool. I'll tell you how cool he was. We were actually, it was one of the years we were doing a camp. We were out grabbing food. And this 8-year-old kid came in. No, he's probably younger than that. Maybe 6-year-old kid came in with an AC/DC tee on. And Chris Slade saw it, and he went over and he said, I don't mean to interrupt your meal. He said, but you're wearing my shirt. And the kid about died right there. And he spent a good 20 minutes hanging out with the kid, taking pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but that is Dave's, like AC/DC is his.
When we saw him in
Yeah,
Vegas
I
a few years back, they were spectacular.
When he-
It was
when-
like sitting in a Night of the Living Dead audience. We got
he
out of there
was-
pretty quick.
When he was working at KLAS, every year you'd get the box or the suite up above, which was a good thing because if you're down on the floor, even if you're not smoking weed, you're getting high.
And now
down
here,
on the
Blaine's
floor.
going to have a complaint here right now because I never invited him to come down.
No, he actually did one time, and I was just like, no, I cannot partake of.
That is not true.
I'm
One,
not.
you would be there in a second if you could have been.
No, I would have been there.
But what about the Rolling Stones? And these are a lot of Utah kids, but these are young musicians mixing it with the greatest band and their personnel in the history of music. What about the Stones?
Yeah. So with those guys, I mean, their drummer, legendary.
Yeah.
Please tell me you know his name.
Watts.
Yeah. Thank you.
Got it?
Yeah. and
Don't
who's
mess with him on
unfortunate-
rock.
Yeah. So
If you want to know who Snoop's
Just the
drummer
classic
is, I got
rock.
you.
I don't know who Snoop's drummer is.
No, I mean he was a consummate, not just musician, but he was an educator and actually a huge jazz fan and loved playing jazz.
Really?
Which a lot of people don't know. So that was my connection there. But yeah, again, really really gracious with the kids, and I mean this, Dave. Over the years, I mean the thing is about these kids at the Soundhouse and just with Utah in general. You turn on any of the reality, talent shows, whether it's singing or the music or songwriting or any of that stuff, man, dancing, Utah's always represented.
Yeah.
We are, I think, per capita the most talented state in the nation, hands down.
Well, you would
with
know
arts.
because a lot of these are your kids that come through.
Tell us a little bit about Soundhouse. So it's a musician performance training program, right? And you're working with the kids. They're playing with professionals. What is this all about? And there's huge talent here, as you've established. And so what are you doing to help hone that talent with these kids?
Well, and Dave and I were talking about this the other day. The way I approached music, when I studied music at BYU, I came out here to Utah to study music. But, the way we do it, I took what I learned at BYU and kind of put my own spin on it. And really came up with a different approach to music. And a lot of the concepts that I use and that my team uses at the Soundhouse, we ripped off of sports. Like Coach K, like his books. I mean, those are like my Bibles. Oh. And so really I played all sports that had a ball growing up. Anything, football, baseball, basketball, all of it.
So you're like us.
I am.
Only you can play.
I am like you
Only
guys.
you have
I'm
a
like you
God-given
guys,
talent.
but I'm not as cool.
Yeah.
But,
No, you're cooler.
You're cooler than us.
Anybody that plays the saxophone it's got a lot of street cred. It's cool.
So I took a lot of those concepts that I learned from playing team sports and brought those into the music. And so, we've had massive success cranking out the top young musicians in the nation. Literally, they're at the best music schools in the world, and people are asking me, like, what kind of ninja music stuff are you teaching? And it has nothing to do with music skills. What we're teaching them is how to drive themselves, how to expect more of themselves, and really just asking these kids to do stuff that nobody else is asking them to do, and setting the expectations, giving them a reason to work. And when you do that, when you believe in these kids, just like on a sports team, they deliver big time.
So you're basically saying to them, hey, if you want to be great, here we're going to teach you the tools to be great. Are you all in? And then same thing. We had Clark Haymond on, who's a fighter pilot and has done a bunch of flyovers, but also has flown sorties over the Middle East. And he talked about sports and how the same mentality applies about preparation and pushing yourself and being focused and having exactness and all those things. Sounds like that's exactly what you're doing with these kids and teaching them that.
That's exactly it. And I love all the words you just used are the exact words that I use, like our bar isn't like pretty good or really good. It's perfection. We shoot for perfection. And another thing that I took from my sports experience that's very different from what I've seen done anywhere else, which I think is a big part of the success, and you guys will be able to relate to this, is, when I initially started teaching music, I did it like I'd seen it, which is I'm the teacher, you're the students, I'm the coach, you're the kids, you do what I say.
Yeah.
And that's not a really effective model. And I thought back to like all the sports that I did, and the best teams I was on, you know why they were the best? It's because we had a good coach, but more importantly, there was peer pressure within that group. It was the guys on the team pushing you to be awesome. It wasn't the coach standing there and yelling in your face. It was your buddies going, you better not let us down. I'm here sweating, putting the work in. You need to carry your weight too. And so we take that same thing on to the bandstand, And so it's the musicians putting pressure on the other musicians. Like, we're going to be incredible. We're going to be amazing. And we're going to bring it 100%. When you get that team, the peer pressure of their colleagues, that delivers results like you can't get by, screaming in a kid's face.
Caleb Chapman's on the Wise Guys tonight. We're talking about music and sports. Your Soundhouse is headquartered in American Fork. How many bands do you have in there, genres that you're teaching? And how does a kid do they just knock on the door and say, I'd like to come in, or do you recruit them? How do they sign up?
Yeah, so we have over 20 bands. Every band's a different style.
20 bands?
Oh, yeah. This year we'll probably be fielding close to 25. So 300 kids. Every group is a different style of contemporary music. So we have everything from, obviously alternative, modern rock, ska, reggae, funk, R&B, Motown.
I think there's some opera
Latin.
In there.
Yeah. No opera.
No opera yet.
See,
We're kind of going with a little more
Marie told us
contemporary.
that she just decided to teach herself opera.
Yeah.
And then she launched an opera album, and it went to #1.
So you got opera to add, but you got everything else.
We got everything else.
I heard like my music now, not just yours.
What?
I heard funk and R&B, and
Yeah.
I grew up in New York playing sports, so those were my genres.
Well,
right?
there you go.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's not a lot of opportunities. If you're a kid that wants to dig into R&B, where are you going to do that? So basically, I'm still a kid inside here, and we built Soundhouse to be like what I wish I had access to, growing up in Boston.
Now, I've been to the Soundhouse. I've seen you work, and you're unique in a way because you got the students playing, and if you've ever seen Caleb's band, and they've been all over the place, you'll know that you're jumping around like a linebacker that just sacked the quarterback the whole time, and it's like it's entertainment. I'm watching the band, I'm watching you, I'm listening to the music, and I'm going, that is one band instructor who is into his work.
Well, yeah. I mean, I got the best seat in the house. These kids are absolutely amazing. I mean, world class. Like
they're geniuses, right?
They are geniuses, and they are fully pro. Like just last weekend we were in Telluride on the main stage of the big festival there, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, and they're playing for thousands of people, and they can absolutely completely hang at the highest level. I mean, that's why all these guys come in from Journey and AC/DC and Toto and the Killers and all that. It's because these kids can play at their level, and that's pretty awesome.
That's incredible. I need to come out and see it. Okay, so people, when they think of music schools, I immediately think of School of Rock.
Right.
So similar, dissimilar, any ties
He's
to
got
that
a little
at
Jack
all?
Black in it.
You have a little Jack Black in any tie at all to what we saw in School of Rock?
So it's kind of a similar thing. School of Rock is a global franchise at this point. They've got hundreds of locations, and School of Rock is a great organization. We actually work with them, and they really here in Utah have become our feeder. So like the kids that are a little bit more serious about music end up coming over and working with us after a few years there. So School of Rock is a great place for kids kind of like get their feet wet and just kind of jam out a little bit. Soundhouse is for these kids that are like they're ready to do it.
Truly gifted.
Tour, record, hang with the rock stars.
So what's the long term for these kids that come into the program? Because some of them come in to you pretty young, right, into the program.
Yeah.
They're prodigies, they're geniuses, and then what's the pathway? What's the long term for these kids that come through the program?
Well, Blaine, I got to back you up for just 1 second because what you said, a lot of people assume when they see these bands that these kids are all geniuses coming in. Now I'll tell you, they are geniuses, but 95% of them don't start that way. 95% of them start as just normal, average kids who've got an interest in playing great music.
And then you find the prodigy in them, or the genius in them.
We give them a reason to become geniuses.
I love that.
So here's a question that all parents want you to answer, and they hope their kids are listening. How have you seen music transform young minds to where their self-confidence, their self-awareness, and their overall intellect is increased as they learn to play something?
Well, I mean, it's a no-brainer. We all know that music makes kids smarter, right? But and I think, you know, to go back real quick to answer that question, I want to go back to Blaine's question just a second ago, which is what's the end goal? A lot of people think since these kids are performing at such a high level, the end goal is to create an army of professional musicians. That's not it. The end goal is to create an army of incredibly successful humans. And there's nothing, you know, better than music as a vehicle to do that. That's why we do what we do, because these kids come out of this with incredible confidence, the ability, you know, to be creative, problem solve, teamwork, all of that stuff. And the proof is in the pudding. This is our 25th year of Soundhouse. And in those 25 years, every single kid, thousands of kids have not just graduated high school, thousands of kids, every single one has gotten college scholarship offers. Wow. Every single kid.
So one of our, this is like a hangout, so people ask us whatever they want. Yeah. They want to know if Dave or I play any instruments. So I'm going to let Dave go first. Do you play any instruments, Dave?
I only sing duets with Maria Osmond.
Yeah, he did sing on stage with Maria at the Sarah.
Caleb saw it, and you know what he tweeted? He tweeted, I don't have the words, I think was the truth.
So
I think that was the truth.
So
that
Dave,
could mean all kinds of things.
Dave plays the radio.
Just couldn't find the words.
I play piano, guitar, and drums. So I play 3 instruments. Yeah. And I grew up in a musical family. I'm from a weird family where the arts and sports were equally important. And I have a daughter that's a Broadway star and went through the MDT program at BYU. All of our kids are musical, and they're all athletic. And those two things, as you mentioned, Caleb, those two disciplines really go together.
I think they do.
You'll love this. So our one that's on Broadway, a dance, I'm not going to name names, but a ballet program said to her, you need to come here all the time or we're going to kick you out. And because you can't keep leaving to go to track. And she said, well, then you can kick me out because I'm going to track, right? Yeah. So she goes to track. She finds another studio. I'll mention this one, Love to Dance. And they said, listen, we'll find you some ballet. We'll bring an instructor down from the University of Utah once a week so you get your ballet. Come dance with us and go run track and go do those things you want to do. So she runs in the state championships in the 100-meter hurdles all through high school, a big-time recruit for high school track programs. But they let her use these disciplines to do both, to do music and so I kind of want to go back to that dance studio. I'm not naming names again and say she's one of the best dancers in the world now. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like a football.
And the people that really raised her up and gave her confidence are the ones that said, go excel in everything. Right. Yep. Go do everything.
We see it all the time with football coaches going, if you're on the football team, you can't play baseball.
Right.
You can't play basketball. And college coaches today are saying they want to recruit kids that play everything.
Right.
Because it makes them a well-known.
Yep.
Now, in defense of my mother, who had 10 of us, she tells us that due to our lack of musical intellect, she said, I had to make a choice. Do I force my 3 boys to learn the piano and become an alcoholic, or do I let them do what they want and live a life free of alcohol? And she chose the word of wisdom.
There you go.
So, so we can't play the piano.
Hey, is it Mike is just me. One of our says, hey, I grew up playing violin, trumpet, French horn, and tuba. Man, those don't seem to go together to me.
Those don't, no.
That's a great eclectic group of instruments to play. Way to go, Mike.
Now, before you play for us here in just a second, and you've played the national anthem for the Jazz and the Nuggets and the Wizards and the Celtics and the Heat and all that, which is super cool.
All the sports and music all come together at some point.
But finish this question. Finish this sentence, not a question. The power of music is...
The power of music is unmeasurable. Music. Think of how many things that we have in life that can, that are better than language, that cross borders of culture and race and geography and language and social status. Music is that. I mean, everybody can enjoy music, and music is a communication tool that is so much more powerful than words. When we're in love with somebody, what do?
We have a song. Don't we all have a song?
You have a song.
Hey, what's your?
You don't have a poem.
What's your song? What's your guy's song?
Yeah, nobody says,
hey,
what's your guy's poem or what's your guy's favorite quote? No, we have a song.
Tommy, right? What's your song? Wait, you guys need to find a
They're
song.
still thinking about their song.
Yeah, you're marrying a musician.
We're narrowing it down. So,
Hey, question: how can I get my first grade son interested in music?
Yeah,
Chaplain Brett.
Yeah, Chaplain Brett Peterson's asking that one of our hangouts with us here.
Well, the way to get them interested is to connect them with music that they're interested in. You know, I think, and this is my soapbox with music education, is that for hundreds of years, we've been, thousands of years, the way that music has been taught through the ages was with folk music of the day. So folk music of the day 1,000 years ago was very different from folk music today. But this problem that we've got in music education is that we are still teaching music to kids with folk music from hundreds of years ago. We need to be teaching kids with folk music of today. What's today's folk music? Today's folk music is Bruno Mars and Justin Timberlake and Beyonce. Coldplay. Go sign up for school music and see how many of those schools are playing music by those groups. The problem is they're still playing marches that are hundreds of years old that parents aren't interested in, kids aren't interested in. It's really tough. Now, does that music have value? Absolutely. I mean, I am the biggest classical music fan. As a matter of fact, what I wanted to do for a career was direct symphony orchestras. That's what I studied in high school. I wanted to direct the Utah Symphony. But, I ended up doing other things. But the thing is, I'm passionate about classical music. I'm passionate about jazz and art music. But if we want to preserve those, we need to get more kids involved with music, more first graders playing music. And the way we do that is by getting kids playing the music they're listening to, you know?
Yep.
So we need a big change, a massive shift in music education.
Let me tell you a quick story that goes with what you just said a moment ago that brought it to my memory. And it was at the Olympics over in Sochi. And, of course, music, the Olympics aren't the Olympics unless the Olympic music comes on and sets the tone for all of that stuff. But we'd been over there for about 2 weeks, and we went into Sochi to go to a branch on Sunday, a church branch there. And we finally got there, and our whole world is surrounded by Russian everything. We had to have an interpreter just to get through the city to get where we're going. And we go up there into the chapel, and everyone's speaking Russian. And I sat there and I thought, okay, what's this going to be like? Until the organ started to play. And it dawned on me that the music is not bound by the language. And all of a sudden, in the middle of forever away from my home, I knew the words to the song we were about to sing, and it was just kind of an aha moment of, hey, wait a second, what the song that organ's playing is the same for everyone.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Music is the universal language, right?
Yeah. And I sang in English, and everyone else sang in Russian. Fortunately, I had no idea what I was singing.
When I think about sports and music, like I go to a Major League Baseball game, and every player picks a walk-up song that represents who they are. And now I was just down St. George this weekend for my grandson's birthday, and he says, "Hey, Pop, do you know what my walk-up song is?" On his little league team, they all have a walk-up song. Music is part of the fabric of our lives. It's pretty cool, and sports and music are integrated in a big way. What's your walk-up song? If you were walking up to the plate, what would be your walk-up song? Or if you're coming out in the stadium, what's the song that represents you?
Man, I've got to think about that for a second. Maybe Back in Black.
Back in Black.
Back in Black.
I like put Dave on the spot all
or
the time.
the intro of Highway to Hell before they the words
go.
come up, where it's just
What's your walk-up song, Caleb? What's yours?
Back in Black, I got to be honest. And Back in Black got me in trouble on the David Letterman show.
What happened?
It was sad. Letterman was interviewing Kiefer Sutherland. I was in the audience, guest to my friend Tom Malone, who's in the band there. And I thought I had muted my phone. And of course, my ringtone was Back in Black.
Back in Black.
And it was
during Letterman.
Full volume.
Oh, no.
In the middle of the interview. Yeah, security almost threw me out because, they're doing the interview and
you got a David Letterman moment.
That's awesome.
That one takes us back to our youth. Start Me Up's another good one.
I like that. I think
what was yours?
Mine's I've changed now, but mine now, I think if I was walking up, I would run to play My House by Flo Rida.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the guy that wrote, Ross Golan wrote My House, and he and his wife were and he told us the story. Have you ever met Ross?
No, I've never met Ross.
Great songwriter.
I know about him.
Yeah, so and Ross represents songwriters all over. So Ross was telling us he and his wife were sitting home on a Sunday night, and they were like, "Hey, let's write a song." And they were thinking they've written some stuff for Adele, so they thought, well, let's write a song for Adele. Let's write a ballad. And you know how we just like to hang out on a Sunday night? Let's write a song about hanging out on a Sunday night at our house. And they start doing it like, this just isn't working. What if we upbeat it a little bit? Let's speed it up a little bit. And they started to do all these little things to it. And then they both looked at each other and went, flow. So they go from writing an Adele song to they think this is good for Flo Rida. They've written some things for him. So that they record a little thing, a little demo, and they call him on the phone. And they play it for him on the phone, and Flo Rida goes, that's a #1 hit. I want it. Right. I want to record it. And he records it. So My House was actually a song that Ross Golan started to write that he thought they were writing maybe for Adele, and it ends up being, that's how music is, right? Yeah. But I love it because I'm walking up, and it's like, welcome to my house. Like, this is my house. So I think that would be my walk-up right now.
With My House.
Flo Rida. Yeah.
Well, you asked how powerful music was.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, for me, how powerful it was. You know, I love BYU football. I love Cougar Stadium. I love playing football, but I did get to play in Lavelle Edwards Stadium.
Oh.
But it was on my instrument, you know? Not
at Stadium of Fire.
At Stadium of Fire, yeah. Opening.
And you rocked the place.
It was just a few people in the crowd, 40,000 people.
Just a few.
So cool.
Opening for a little band, Journey.
Yeah. That was an awesome night.
So,
What
music,
night.
I would say music's pretty powerful.
It is.
It's
Got me in the
unbelievable.
Cougar Stadium.
Unbelievable.
For the first time ever in the history of the Wise Guys, we're going to have some live music right now. You ready for Rise and Shout?
Rise and Shout.
On the saxophone. This is this guy.
Hey, I question though. Are you playing injured right now?
I am. Dave reminded me of my mom today because I wasn't. I played sports all growing up, all through elementary, junior high, got to high school. And, you kind of, if you're serious about sports or music, you kind of got to pick one. You know?
Right.
And so I was, my best sport was baseball. I was a great pitcher. And I was thinking that's the route I was going to go. I was going to drop music, do baseball, and hope for a scholarship. I had a buddy that was a pitcher that was older than me, went to college on scholarship. And while I was a freshman, he was a freshman in college, threw out his arm his freshman year, no more scholarship.
Oh.
And so that was enough for me to go, I'm going to stick with music instead of baseball. So music was my focus. That's how I was going to pay for everything. And my mom completely forbade me from playing basketball at that point.
For
the jam.
Can't hurt.
Now, wait a second. Before you compare me to your good mother.
No, yeah, you sounded exactly like I got my mom again.
Years later, you're not a teenager when I sent you that text.
Yeah,
you're a grown man, engaged.
What did he say to you in the text?
Well, he told me I'm not allowed to play basketball if I'm going to play the saxophone. He said I have to get my priorities.
I'll tell you exactly what I said.
He's got to do what he loves to do.
I'll tell you exactly what I said. He goes, hey, I totally jammed my finger playing hoops today, and it kills like a mother, speaking of mother, so you'll get the fight song, but probably not anything else. And then I said, there comes a moment in time when we need to put the basketball down and focus on the more important things.
Sometimes he's way too, what is he? I'm like, what are you, 80? Are you 80 years old? What's going on
I
with
said,
you?
we'll take the Rise and Shout and then tell Tommy she's always welcome to come to the show, whether you come or not.
I told her that.
I like, everybody's all of our followers are throwing out their walk-up songs. And I like that one of our guys, Bluesville, says everyone needs a walk out the door song in the morning. Right? My walk out the door song in the morning is Nappy Roots, Good Day.
Good day.
Gotta have a good day. All my homies gonna. But anyhow, they're putting those in there. I think Beethoven would be cool to walk up to Beethoven's fifth. Walk up to the, and that's what Chapman. Of course, Chapman, Brett Peterson.
Everybody's happy song is the fight song because that meant someone just scored a touchdown.
That's right.
But I want to point out. So I shouldn't have said you're injured because there's a sports saying that you can play hurt, but injured is a different. Like if you're injured, then you shouldn't play. You got to heal up.
He's not injured.
If you're just hurt,
he's just dinged up.
You got to play hurt.
It just doesn't bend all the way.
You got to play hurt. So,
but fortunately, you don't need your fingers to play the saxophone.
Caleb's just hurt. He's not injured. He's hurt, but he's going to play hurt.
Now I did graduate from BYU.
Right.
I have never in my life played the fight song on saxophone.
Remember a couple weeks ago when I said, hey, can you play the fight song?
I know you did.
I knew you would go find out how to play it.
People get mad at us because we're broadcasting a game and they play the fight song, but we got to stay broadcasting the game. We're on the mic, we're sitting down at the table, and people are like, how come you don't stand up during the fight song?
Because we're announcing.
I'm like,
the other team isn't cheering for this song.
Like, come on, give me a little break.
Okay, so was this a hard song to learn on the saxophone?
I got to be honest, I haven't spent a ton of time learning it.
So we're winging it? Is that what we're going to do?
You know what?
Slightly winging it.
If anybody can wing it, this is the guy.
Hopefully we got it.
I mean, of all the nice things we've said just leading up to this point.
I'm going to stand up because...
All right.
Okay, this is Caleb Chapman. By the way, he's a Am I saying this right? You're a clinical
I've
saxophonist.
got albums out on iTunes. Instead of playing my albums, we are having me play the fight.
Yeah, where do you want the mic? Down by the...
Yeah, it's going to be down here.
Hey, just for the example, you could have played some of those songs had you not played basketball this morning. So we're happy with the fight
You're
songs.
supposed to play my album off the internet.
that's true.
And people,
We'll tell
we're
people
going to
where
tell
they
them where
can
to
get
go.
it.
We're going to tell them where to go.
All right, for the first time ever, live music on the Wise Guys. World famous Caleb Chapman minus his Crescent Super Band. They're not good. There we go. I told you he's good. I told you he's good. I heard some Louisiana in there too. There was some little side stuff.
I like the little runs. That was sweet. That was sweet.
All right, he's going to get his headset on. We got 5 quick questions for you, but before we get to that, tell us where you're doing right now. I know you've been working with David Osmond, and he's been working with you and your band. Yeah. And then you're getting married on October 1st. So let's first start with what you're up to, and then we're going to talk about getting married.
Well, look at that. I mean, I got to work with David Osmond recently, who sings with Marie.
Yeah.
And I got to work with Dave McCann,
It's
who
all
also
coming.
sings with
Yes,
Marie.
he sings with Marie at the Sarah
Oh my
Show.
gosh.
It's almost in stereo.
This is crazy. This is crazy.
Okay, don't get him going or he's going to start singing all
And
the time.
you got some gigs coming up.
We got some gigs coming up. Yeah, I mean, man, there's all kinds of stuff going on. But a big one with Dave, with the Osmond Chapman Orchestra. We've got a big cruise coming up in January with the piano guys that's opened.
Oh, it sounds delightful.
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
We
fantastic.
saw John Schmidt last night at the show. Fantastic.
Oh man, John's great, and so that's going to be through the Mexican Riviera in January. So you guys need to hop on that one.
Yeah, way to schedule it right in the middle of basketball season.
Hey, Dave, where's that text? You know, sometimes it comes. We need to set our priorities and make decisions about what's really.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of priorities and decisions, congratulations on the wedding coming up.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you. Best decision of my life.
We're excited about it. I know you're excited about
I'm
it.
very excited.
And
I'm glad Tommy's excited about it.
What's the date?
October 1st, right?
October 1st.
Okay, and everybody's invited that's out there. Everybody's
It'll
invited.
just be finger foods, but I think that's awesome. And it just fills in it just gives you balance, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah.
Just gives you balance.
Especially, I mean, of all people, I need it. So Tommy will attest to that.
That is true. You ready for 5 questions?
I'm ready for
And then
5
we'll get you
questions.
out of
And
here.
by the way, BYU Sports Addict says, okay, that song on the sax was just plain old freaking awesome. So I love it. So here's your 5
It
questions.
was great. We'll have it on our podcast too,
Yep.
and we'll push it out to YouTube
Yep.
so everyone
Yep.
can hear it.
Favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? Remember the Titans.
Okay,
right.
now
Denzel
you're the
Washington.
first one that's been on our show that has the same one as me.
What? Are you curious?
That's
Are you
mine.
serious?
Remember the Titans.
Marie's was Hoosiers when she came right out. She
Without
was
hesitation.
No hesitation.
Hoosiers. I'm like, yeah, she's married to a basketball player.
That's true.
So, favorite band or singer?
The Police.
Why?
Police.
Just because, I mean, 3 musicians that were all some of the greatest ever, and they made, with just 3 people and 3 instruments, they made bigger, thicker music than bands with 10 guys on the stage. Completely changed the face of rock and roll, and just incredibly inventive, and just I love every single tune that band created.
who did Roxanne?
Police.
Okay. That's the one of the big numbers in Moulin Rouge that my daughter's in right now, and they're performing it. She's doing it on James Corden show on Thursday night.
Oh, nice.
On the
I'll
Late
have
Late
to
Show.
tune in.
Yeah. So everybody watch that. Roxanne,
Classic
the
rock's
Police.
a gray area for Blaine.
Yeah.
I just had to help
So
him out.
anyhow, favorite breakfast cereal.
Favorite breakfast cereal? That one's easy. It's peanut butter Captain Crunch.
See, Dave.
Interesting.
Like
I'm writing that down.
he just said.
I thought these questions were hard.
He said Captain Crunch. I'm like,
These aren't hard
no,
questions.
peanut
They're
butter.
just 5 questions.
And we were all like,
Oh, okay.
he says Captain Crunch. We're like, And
I don't need peanut butter in there.
Is it
If I
the
want
peanut butter crunch?
I'll have a sandwich for lunch.
Is it Crunch Berries? And he's just like, no, regular Captain Crunch. We're going, oh, that is so lame.
I did this
Peanut
morning.
butter crunch with
Peanut
the
butter.
Smedley, the elephant. Yeah, those are the best.
You got it.
Favorite arena or venue that you've performed in?
And that could be international. So.
Yeah. And your favorite venue ever?
Easy, Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
We had our own night headlining. I mean,
how
I
cool.
had my name on Carnegie Hall. Like that was like I didn't think I'd ever get there, and
I sat in the center box on that mezzanine level in Carnegie Hall with Steve Young to watch Libby perform the prayer with Dallin Vale Bales.
Oh yeah, I've worked with Dallin.
Yeah, he's awesome, incredible talent. Another
Carnegie
BYU
Hall.
guy, right?
What's that?
Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie,
Carnegie Hall.
And here was what was cool about it. I picked this up because I didn't have much interest in saxophone at all. And I got the sax mainly because it got me out of a workshop at school or something like that. I wasn't interested. My mom knew I wasn't, so she went to the record store, said, give me the album of the coolest sax player there is. And they sold her a David Sanborn album.
Oh, yeah.
She brought it home. I listened to that, and I was like, I got to play the saxophone. So my show at Carnegie Hall was me at Carnegie Hall with special guest David Sanborn. So I got to perform with David Sanborn.
What other instruments do you play?
I mean, I make noise on everything, but this is the only one
That's
I charge
that's your
for.
baby right there. That's
You
your
played
baby
Carnegie
right
Hall and the Wise Guys. Let's
That's
include
right.
that in the same sentence.
there. So now we've talked about your favorite arena or venue that you've played. What's your favorite concert you've ever been to that you're not playing in?
Oh man, I have been to a lot of concerts. Favorite concert that I've been to.
Yeah.
Is it because of the venue or the band?
The band.
The band.
Okay, so here's the thing. This was not my favorite band, but it was the most impactful concert I've ever been to was Paul McCartney at Energy Solutions or whatever it was named at that time. I mean, who remembers what it was? But I'll tell you what, he had this huge band, and I just went because I just wanted to see a Beatle. I'd never seen a Beatle in concert. So I just bought the tickets, and I went. I wasn't expecting anything. You know, we all know all the tunes, but I was just, and so the show was great, and I like really was enjoying it. And then he dismissed his band, and it was just him on stage with an acoustic guitar playing Blackbird. And it was about halfway through the tune, and I felt like something on my face, and I'm like, what is that?
I'm not crying, you're crying.
It was beyond crying. It was gigantic crocodile tears.
Wow.
During Blackbird.
During Blackbird. And I was like, what is going on? Like, it hit me like all the way.
In your heart.
All the way in. No music has ever done that to me before. And I work in music. So that left a mark on me forever. So
All right.
That's pretty cool.
That's a good one.
That's pretty amazing.
Speaking of Paul McCartney, Marie told a story last week.
Gosh, I can't believe this story.
And we were talking, I don't know how it came up, but she said when they were young and they were over there performing somewhere, McCartney came to their hotel, Paul did, to get their autographs for his daughter.
Oh,
how about that?
It's when the
Talk about
Osmonds
the
and the
power of the
Jacksons
Osmonds.
were the two biggest bands in the world at the time.
Do we have time for one quick story?
Sure.
Yes, of course.
So I'm great friends with David Paich of Toto. He's the one that wrote Africa, sang it, plays piano in Toto, and he was Toto was the studio band for Thriller for Michael Jackson. You know?
Oh wow!
And so, anyways, so he's got this incredible recording studio at his house, and he's lived there forever. And so all these famous people have come there to record and hang out. So he's telling me this story. He's like, oh, Caleb, I just remember this story. You're never going to believe who came to my house. And I was like, well, I bet I would, but who, like everybody, right? He said, yeah, I'm sitting there one day and this was, in the heyday of Michael Jackson, you know? He said, I'm sitting there at my house and this limo pulls up unannounced. And I was like, to your house? He's like, yeah, to the studio. And Michael Jackson gets out. And I'm like, are you kidding me? That's incredible. He's like, no, that's not the story. Like, that's not the cool part. He said, Michael Jackson gets out and opens the door and you're never going to believe who was at my house. And I was like, who? He's like, Donny Osmond came to my house. And I'm like,
Michael and Donnie hanging out.
Michael's the crap part of the story, and Donnie is the one that blew you away. You know?
Awesome.
So,
that's awesome.
That is
I
cool.
want to ask one sixth question. The favorite musician that you've ever played with, that you've ever jammed with?
Well, it's probably got to be David Sanborn, just because that's
the instrument. That's your heart right there.
But you know, I mean, probably like right next to that, he's become a great friend, and we've done tons of stuff together, is Steve Smith from Journey, the drummer from Journey. Just because, I mean, he wasn't just a great drummer in the time or a great drummer of everybody living. Like, he is literally like one of probably the top 5 greatest drummers of all time in history. And I just have a thing for drummers. I just am blown away by him. And so he's great. Yeah.
Our friend Governor Gary Herbert, who was on this show a few weeks ago, presented you with the Governor's Performing Artists Award for your significant contributions to art in Utah. And that was in 2013. It's been full steam ahead. True professional, great ambassador of BYU and music, friend. We're so grateful to have you here on our show, and we'll see you at the wedding.
Awesome. Thanks.
October 1st.
October 1st.
The great Caleb Chapman. Oh, hey, before you go, give us your website so folks know exactly where they can listen to all your music.
or if they want to
find out about
getting their kids involved in the program.
Right. So Osmond Chapman Orchestra, my new group with David Osmond. Of course, that music's on all streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, all that. As far as getting involved with the Soundhouse, we start musicians at 8 years old, up through high school graduation, up through 18. You can get information on all of that at ccsoundhouse.com.
Awesome.
So we got OsmondChapman.com up on the stream, and then we've got the www.ccsoundhouse.com also on the stream, so folks know. Awesome.
All right, will you come back?
Anytime.
And when you're not hurt, we want you back.
Yeah, maybe play some of your real stuff.
I can bring the guitar in. And
we can jam. Let's do it.
And I'll sing. That's it. That's the 3.
Can we please limit this? Can we limit this?
See, Dave wouldn't have appreciated this, but see, you should have been at our album release party last year, because you know who was on it. We played at the Rose Bowl, Osmond Chapman, and it was a joint bill with a band called Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh man!
See,
Classic.
Dave's not into that stuff.
But I still know their song.
What's your favorite Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
Well, I just love all of them.
He doesn't
I just
know.
love all of them.
He doesn't know.
Yeah, but you can pick him right out. All right, you're done. Get out. You've exhausted our. Tommy, we'll see you at the wedding. Congratulations.
Tommy, congratulations.
The great Caleb Chapman. Thank
Thanks
you so
much, Caleb.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely love it.
All right, so what we're going to do is let's push our thing with the Marvel characters to next week.
Yep, we'll do that next week.
But there's still some things we want to go over, including the Cougars in the NFL.
Right.
And then this day in history. So networks, we're going to go over just a couple of minutes
but not
too much.
So.
BYU players in camps, rosters were trimmed from 85 to 80 today. And first of all, that was an awesome rendition of Rise and Shout.
Oh, yeah. That was.
And I thought he took some liberties there, and it was still
the runs. I loved it.
Cut today as the rosters were trimmed from 85 to 80. Kai Nakua from the Jets, a bummer, and then Troy Warner from the Buccaneers. Yeah,
and Kai's been but here's the thing about both of those guys. They're very capable of being picked up on a practice squad and being on a team. Remember, Danny Sorensen was kind of on and off the practice squad, and then he became a mainstay with the Chiefs. And, of course, now he's with the New Orleans Saints and with his buddy.
Next week's the big cut. They go from 80 to 53.
Yeah,
and David Nixon was telling us on After Further Review, that's a lonely day.
Well, and he's like, when you've been in the league a little bit, you know exactly when that's well, I'm going to be done here. And so that's a big cut.
That makes this week pretty important. So let's run down who's playing what and where.
Yeah, so let's start with the Chiefs and the Packers. Thursday at 6 Mountain on the NFL Network. That's Zane Anderson and Matt Bushman both involved in that game.
Fred Warner, who probably won't play, 49ers and Texans. That's Thursday night on Prime Video.
Fred just had a special on ESPN on him where all of the great players in the league were talking about how special he is. That was pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah, Fred's not worried about making a team. He's one of the best players in the league, period, and probably the best linebacker in the National Football League.
Who is trying to make the team's Neil Pau'u of the Bills.
Yep. So Neil Pau'u, he's going to face Brady Christensen on Friday on the Bills and the Panthers. No TV on that one.
James Empey still hanging on with the Cowboys, and they play the Seahawks Friday night at 6 on the NFL Network.
Right. We got Kyle Van Noy, who also doesn't have to make a team, against Michael Davis, who also doesn't need to make a team. Guaranteed contracts with big money. But the Chargers are at the Saints Friday.
So those two guys, if they were to play, and I doubt they will on this one, Taysom Hill and Daniel Sorensen with the Saints. So 4 Cougars in that matchup. Right. Taysom cut his first pass of the preseason, a 10-yarder at the tight end position.
He's going to have an impact. He's going to play all over the place too. So, how about the Patriots and Raiders on Friday? That's Harvey Longy and I don't think that. I think he's pretty secure there as well.
Yeah, Kairos Tonga and Sione Takitaki, Bears and Browns Saturday. I think they're both pretty secure.
Yep. And we forgot about Tyler Algier, right?
Right.
Falcons and Jags.
I think he's pretty secure.
Yeah. He's secure. Third round draft pick doesn't get.
You
cut.
got him very early in the game last night.
Too much money invested, and he's solid. He's not going to get cut. And you know what? Kairos not going to get cut, and Sione's not going to get cut.
And hearing great things even today from the coach of the Commanders about Dax Milne.
Yep, absolutely. Dax Milne playing well. Commanders. It's hard for me to get used to saying Commanders.
I know. I want to say Redskins.
But they're against the Ravens, and they play on Saturday.
And then the Bucs are at the Colts, and you got Samson Nakua, Tyson Williams, and Chris Wilcox all trying to make the Colts roster. Samson had a 26-yard touchdown catch against the Lions last week. And after the game, Jamal Williams, who runs for the Lions, said, quote, he tweeted out, "I'm happy and upset at the same time. I love seeing my Cougs ball out."
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Samson Nakua, he was part of the heart of that BYU team last year. Phenomenal. I'm waiting to see who replaces the phenomenal leadership mantle that Samson Nakua had on that football team last year. People don't know. Because
could it be Puka?
All behind the scenes, the impact that guy had on that team last year. He was really good. I hope that the Colts, he's at the Colts.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope that the Colts see that in him and understand what a great teammate he can be, and he can make a difference.
And we'll see if Puka is going to take on that torch for the football team.
We'll see. So
Jamal Williams, who played at the Steelers, I doubt he'll play Sunday 2:30 on CBS. This is the game for all the fringe guys.
Isn't it interesting how many of these guys were just going, yeah, that guy's on, that guy's like, so many guys are guaranteed a spot on here, and some still trying to make it. But BYU's really reestablished itself as a program that sends guys to the NFL, and there's a bunch on this year's roster, a bunch of them.
Let's finish with this day in history and then our quote from Lavelle Edwards.
So this day in history, 1793, the French Revolution. All men 18 to 25, all able men, I would say, 18 to 25 called to military duty in 1793.
Can you imagine living at a time where it's like, hey, you guys, you're all in.
You're all in.
1839, the British capture Hong Kong from China. It's since gone back to the Chinese control.
We're not even going to go there. Too political right now. But 1914, Japan declares war on Germany. World War I.
1947, on this day, the first Little League World Series in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. The Maynard Midgets beat Lock Haven All-Stars 16-7. They wouldn't even be able to use that name today.
No, it's politically incorrect.
But that's the first one in 1947.
Hey, Charles Barkley used to be involved in midget tossing. There's all kinds of things you can't do anymore, right? So
true.
There you go. You can't be the Maynard Midgets.
How about this next one?
1960, the world's largest frog was discovered in Equatorial Guinea. 7.2-pound frog.
What if you walked outside your backyard and there was a 7-pound frog?
My wife gets scared of small frogs. She's completely terrified. So a 7.2-pound frog, no-go. That's a no-go.
1974, John Lennon reports seeing a UFO in New York City. I've seen a lot of unidentified objects in New York City.
Yeah.
But John Lennon said he saw a UFO on this day.
And is he wrong?
In 74.
I think some of the stuff they took from Trump's house is good. It's all about that, right?
I don't know.
1993.
How about this?
Dow Jones reports a record high, 3,638.96 points. Current market's over 33,000. Yeah. Which I'm not happy with because it was at over 36,000 not that long ago.
It's a lot over 3,000.
Don't even get me going on
in
how
1993, they celebrate 3,600, and today we're at 33,000.
There's 33,000. So.
Birthdays today, August 23rd. In 1754, King Louis XVI, King of France. He was born with his head, but left without it after he was guillotined.
Yep. No.
And that just sounds so crazy.
1912, we had a little bit of a music theme here today. Gene Kelly was born 1912 on this day. One of my favorite dancers and actors of all time.
1931, Barbara Eden of I Dream of Jeannie was born. Years ago, I'm sitting at my desk.
I was pretty much in love with her.
Yeah, everyone was. I'm sitting at my desk at KSL, and they go, hey, somebody comes up and goes, hey, Barbara Eden's here. Can you interview her? I'm like, for what? I don't know, but she's here to be interviewed. I don't even know if she went to the wrong place or what. So I went to the studio and interviewed her, and she was so nice. And I'm thinking, I'm interviewing Jeannie.
Yeah, no, Jeannie. We used to watch that show every day after school. I Dream of Jeannie. 1949, Rick Springfield. I wish that I had Jesse's girl.
Born 1949. Yep. River Phoenix, born today in 1970.
Kobe Bryant, 1978.
Hey, I accidentally skipped past 1949.
Yeah, your
Shelley
show.
Long, Diane Chambers from Cheers.
Cheers, big time.
Happy birthday.
So, hey, let's music theme. So August 23rd.
Oh, wait. You skipped the last one.
Who did I skip?
Taysom Hill.
Oh,
32 today.
I forgot about Taysom Hill.
I didn't know
32.
Taysom and Kobe Bryant shared the same birthday.
32 years young, 1990. Taysom Hill was born. I forgot about Taysom. So, okay, music, August 23rd. The Beatles release "She Loves You" in the UK.
That turned out all right.
Yeah, no kidding. They're pretty good.
So
last time I heard.
So the Brits got their first taste of that, and then it came later to the U.S. Next week, Brandon Doman, former BYU quarterback, Amber Whiting, the women's head basketball coach. We will go through the BYU depth chart for the season opener, preview the South Florida Bowls.
Yes, we will.
We'll talk about our Marvel characters and the Cougar players, because I think we'll get a lot of reaction.
Can we give him a little taste? We told him we were going to tell him about Malik's and how he was so happy about it.
Yeah, we did tell him that.
So you gave Malik Moore Black Panther.
Black Panther.
He was so excited that he was Black Panther. So
we're going to give you a whole week to think who should be Thor.
Who should be what. Yep.
And some of those guys. And so look for that. Well, I think it'll be a fun interaction. That's next week. You want to take us out?
Yeah, so Coach Edwards, we always, with our guy, Lavelle Edwards, who we love, and we always end with a Lavelle Edwards quote. And this week says, "We can have the greatest will to do well, but unless we've prepared, it is of little use."
You know, I felt that way when Marie Osmond called me on stage.
Yeah, you weren't prepared.
I was bound and determined,
but
I was not prepared.
But you can fake it better than anybody I know, and you did great.
Usually it's makeup and lights, like we have right here on this show.
That's a great quote.
Hey, the podcast will be up tomorrow. Share it with your friends. Tell your friends about us. Log on to Twitch. Get a free account so you can get on here and say, "Hey, Blaine, that was the craziest answer I've ever heard," and we can comment about it. And then we're just going to keep rolling. We've only got one more week until we actually have a game.
It's season. It's the season's upon us. I can smell it in the air. You smell that? That's football.
I thought that was Caleb's Old Spice.
Oh, it's football.
It's football.
But Old Spice, mainly yes, but I like it too.
All right.
No, that's Irish Spring. I don't even know what I'm talking
Thanks for watching The Wise Guys. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.